information we got was when we went to the U.S. Capitol Police headquarters, and they were piecing together what had happened and trying to feed us as they got that, but nothing substantive. It seems like there's no game plan in operation.
Do the two of you know why you were evacuated from the U.S. Capitol?
Absolutely. I talked to Bill Livingood, the Sergeant-at-Arms in the Capitol, and he said, Kurt, we've been told that a plane is taken off from Reagan, and we think it may be heading toward the Capitol. I mean, they've hit our economic center, the World Trade Center, they hit our Pentagon, they hit our State Department, so the obvious next item you'd like to hit is the U.S. Capitol and perhaps the Supreme Court.
And obviously those are unconfirmed reports that
That's
any
right.
plane, but there were rumors here
That's
for
right.
a good 2 hours
Right.
that there were potentially planes headed this
Right.
direction.
Now we're in
You heard
total
that.
lockdown, as you said, and members are basically scattered around the city, but we're going to get back to work because we're going to convince these cowards that America doesn't back down, that our government will continue to operate in spite of these terrorist
You said we're at
activities.
war.
We're at war. We're absolutely at war. This is 21st century war. These are the kinds of activities that we expect from cowards and terrorist groups.
I need to go back to Judy Woodruff now in Washington. Judy?
All right, Kate, thank you. And I want to tell our viewers that we do know now that President Bush has landed near Shreveport, Louisiana, at Barksdale Air Force Base. We're told that he is talking to reporters. There may be a statement from the president, from the White House there on the ground. And one other item here from Washington before I turn it back over to Aaron Brown. In New York, 34 Pentagon victims at least being treated at 3 Washington hospitals. No word on fatalities. Aaron?
Judy, in the area, I guess, of practical information, and we talked to the mayor about this a little bit ago, there is now in New York and in northern New Jersey a critical shortage of blood, a desperate need for blood. We would remind people that giving blood is perfectly safe and on a day like today, absolutely necessary. And so if that's something you can do to help out in the midst of this extraordinary tragedy, you might consider doing that. On the phone with us, James Sanders, who's with Bellevue Hospital, one of the major hospitals here in New York. Mr. Sanders, what can you tell us about the situation there?
Hi, it's Hillary Lane reporting that Mr. Sanders was called back into the command center, but I can fill you in on the briefing that he just gave us. This is the largest emergency and trauma unit in New York City and the second largest emergency unit in the country. They say they are underutilized right now, while the hospitals downtown closer to the Trade Center are absolutely open.
As we were getting our gear on and making our way to the stairway, there was a heavy-duty explosion, and everybody just started running for the door. Everybody was trapped. Eventually, when the dust lifted, I saw some light and started screaming for everybody to go out towards the light.
Okay, we just got word, by the way, that at Newark Airport, they have evacuated the United Airlines terminal. Now, of course, you know there are no flights going anywhere all across the country right now. There are a number of people who may be at the airports trying to figure out how they're going to get to where they need to go. However, we do know that right now they have evacuated the United Airlines terminal at Newark. And Jim, this is, of course, because of the use of planes in this attack.
Jim's been here all morning, and if there's anybody out there who perhaps overslept and missed some of what has transpired in this city this morning, this might be a good time for Jim just to go over it once again.
Well, what this is in its largest sense is a story of 4 hijacked aircraft that were all used as terror weapons. The first was an American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767. It was going from Boston, supposed to go to Los Angeles. It crashed into the World Trade Center just before 9 o'clock this morning. That plane was carrying 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. Then American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757. It was going from Dulles Airport, which is outside of Washington, to Los Angeles. It crashed into the World Trade Center also. Both of these planes obviously hijacked. The plane was carrying 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, and 2 pilots. Then there was United Airlines Flight 93. That was a Boeing 757. It crashed southeast of Pittsburgh while en route from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. That plane was carrying 38 passengers, 2 pilots, and 5 flight attendants. The 4th plane here is not clear where that plane has crashed. United Airlines Flight 175, a Boeing 767. The flight was bound from Boston to Los Angeles. It was carrying 56 passengers, 2 pilots, and 7 flight attendants. The airline would not say where that plane crashed. Diana.
Okay, Jim, we're going to go to Jeff Rawson right now, who is at World Trade Center, as close as he can be to that area. Jeff, tell us what's going on right now.
Bill, stay keyed up on the next hubs. They keep losing you. 3, 2, 1.
You're on.
We apologize, having some technical difficulties getting cells down here because a good deal of our cell transmission comes from the top of the World Trade Center. And you can see the black smoke continues. And to give you a live picture down Church Street, fire crews now walking back toward the scene. We have seen them all morning trying to walk away because what happens is every time a little piece of the building comes down, a huge black cloud comes at us, making it almost impossible to breathe or see anything in front of them. But now, at least for the past couple of minutes, it has been clear from this space back on Chambers in that area. So now they're walking back toward the World Trade Center. And as we keep letting you hear the personal stories, the survivor stories of exactly what happened inside the World Trade Center when that first plane went in, and of course the collapses since then, we're going to bring more of those to you now. Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the Corporation Counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hess. I said, this is it. We're dead. We're not going to make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. That's when this gentleman here heard my cries for help. This gentleman right here, and he kept saying, stand by, somebody's coming to get you. They couldn't get to us for an hour because they couldn't find us.
You thought that was it?
I thought we're dead. I thought that was it. I started praying to Allah. I said, that's it. We're gone. It's over.
What was it like for you? You were inside there as well.
It was pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of Bruce Willis' Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away. There was no way to access us. We couldn't get to them. And finally, one of the fire department teams found them. But we didn't think they were going to make it.
Well, certainly you got out. Many others didn't. Of course, we don't have a number right now of fatalities or injuries, but I want to translate a story to you that another man told me. He was near the building. He was on the lobby level, near the shopping area, near the promenade. The elevator doors, he said to me, blew open. And when the doors opened, there was a man on fire inside that elevator. That is the kind of tragedy we are talking about here, and where the World Trade Center once stood here in New York City is no longer, at least not like we knew it. These men just embraced. This man is crying. It has been that traumatic.
I don't want to cry in the air, man, but I thought that was it. I thought I was dead. I'm thinking about my sons, my wife. It's too much.
And certainly, he echoes the statements of many others. We were speaking with a couple of officials earlier trying to get information. They said, stand back, we lost a bunch of guys today. It has certainly been a horrible... In fact, let me come around right here as this happens. They're now clearing the area.
Anybody up to Lincoln Center, you have to board the bus.
They're trying to evacuate the area because certainly they don't know what's going to happen next. And you can see in this live picture from the corner of Reed and Church, people are wearing face masks. The air is almost unbreathable. You can feel it in your mouth, and that's what's become so dangerous here, the unknown. We're staying on the scene. We're trying to gather the latest information for you as well. Certainly, I also want to tell you our personal experience when we were inside of it. You can come over and see our live truck covered in dust. We had to abandon it because, and this is what layers the entire street. You can see how much of it we're talking about here. When the building started to collapse, we had to abandon this truck and run into the nearest building. So many people had been evacuated already that it became difficult. Office of Emergency Management came with us with an axe, and there were about 3 of us. There were a couple reporters, then there were a couple people just walking in the area. Actually had to take the axe and bash in glass on a door into an off-track betting area so we can get in there for safety. We were safe and came out a couple of minutes later, but certainly pandemonium, chaos down here in the first moments of it. Just now are things beginning to calm down and police putting all of this together. Back to you.
Report that they are evacuating people back to the Lincoln Center area, which is way up where we are on the Upper West Side and that area of Manhattan. So they are trying to get people out of that area. Let's go right now live to John Del Giorno. He's in Newscopter 7. John, what can you tell us? John, can you hear us? John, you're on the air right now. If you can talk to us, we'd like to know what you can see.
I just want to relay the latest traffic and transit information regarding this disaster. If anybody is in Lower Manhattan and has to get out, obviously many of the roadways have been sealed off. What I can tell you so far is that the Port Authority crossings, and that will include the George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Tunnel, and the Holland Tunnel, those crossings all remain closed in both directions. You can't get out of Manhattan, you can't get into Manhattan. Port Authority crossings will also include the Bayonne Bridge, the Goethals Bridge, and the Outer Bridge crossing. All of those crossings currently closed in both directions. On the east side of town, here is the rundown. The Queens Midtown Tunnel and the 59th Street Bridge are both open to Queens-bound traffic. So if you are in Manhattan and you have to get to Queens, the Queensboro Bridge and the Queens Midtown Tunnel are the two crossings that will do it. The Lower East River crossings being the Williamsburg, the Manhattan, the Brooklyn Bridge, and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel all shut down in both directions, although I can tell you that the Manhattan Bridge, at least, I can confirm from what I'm able to see here, is open to pedestrian traffic. As far as the highways go, here's the scoop on Long Island. Right now, Long Island Expressway, Northern State Parkway, and the Southern State Parkway are all closed to westbound traffic at the Queens line. You cannot proceed into Queens on any of the major highways or parkways on Long Island. You can, however, drive eastbound out of town. In New Jersey Turnpike currently closed north of Interchange 11. That would be Woodbridge all the way up to the terminus. So the New Jersey Turnpike closed from Woodbridge up to the George Washington Bridge. That would include the Newark Bay Extension. Also getting word of some scattered closures along Route 80 east of the Saddlebrook area. And again, that's just preventing traffic from getting bottlenecked at those Hudson River crossings. Again, the best advice, don't leave unless you absolutely have to. Stay in your homes today. The roadways that are not shut down in the entire area are gridlocked, so just stay home, stay put. If you're in Manhattan and you have to get out of Manhattan, the 59th Street Bridge and the Queens Midtown Tunnel are the two crossings currently open to motor vehicle traffic that will get you out of town.
Thank you, John. Stay home, stay put, and stay tuned to Eyewitness News. I understand that Mayor Giuliani is on the phone right now. Let us give a listen to see if, in fact, he is there.
Coming here from around the country to also assist us. But until then, which means until probably 2, 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon, our police department, our fire department, and our emergency people are being stretched to the limit. And I'm sure we've also lost a significant number of them.
Now, you're reluctant, I assume, to put any other name attached to the casualties except significant. Do you believe it's hundreds or thousands?
I really don't. I really don't want to say right now, Peter. I think it's going to be a horrible number. I saw people jumping out of the World Trade Center. I saw some of the firefighters who I know going into the building. And we were in a building in which we were trapped for about 10, 15 minutes.
Are you talking about did you go immediately to the Office of Emergency Management?
No, I went down to the scene and we set up headquarters at 75 Barclay Street, which was right there with the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the head of emergency management. And we were operating out of there when we were told that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. And it did collapse before we could actually get out of the building. So we were trapped in the building for 10, 15 minutes and finally found an exit and got out, walked north, and took a lot of people with us.
My question is, the Office of Emergency Management headquarters, into which you put enormous effort for coordination in a disaster like this, has it been damaged? Is it still operating? It's gone?
It's been damaged. I don't know how badly. And right now, that whole area of Manhattan, including the police department, which is another area we would operate from, City Hall is another area we would operate from, have been closed off. So we've moved to a secure location in Midtown Manhattan where we're operating city government.
Is it fair to say, do you think, that all of your drills for dealing with terrorism and disaster are going according to plan, or has this been of such of magnitude that we've just all been caught totally off balance?
Oh, there's no question we were all caught totally off balance. No one could possibly expect large airplanes to crash into the World Trade Center the way this happened. I think, having said that, as I watched what the police officers and the firefighters were doing, I think they're going to save the maximum number of lives you could possibly save in a situation like this. I mean, the emergency efforts that they've been going through over the last 2.5 hours are nothing short of inspiring.
And when the National Guard comes in to say, did you say to take over or offer some relief, what can the National Guard do that you cannot do at a city level?
Oh, at this point, what they can do is relieve men who are going to be exhausted physically and emotionally.
Now, just if you would, because I know how busy you are, just give us some sense of what you thought at the time about all this.
I thought that I would never live to see anything like this. I didn't think anything like this was possible. When I first arrived there, I rushed down there from Midtown Manhattan, and I saw the first building that had been crashed open And when you look at it, it takes you a minute to really comprehend that this is actually happening. And to see people jumping from the top of the World Trade Center. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a nightmare that's worse than this.
Mr. Mayor, one last question. You said you never believed you'd live to see anything like this, and yet in the past you've been one of the leaders in preparing for just this
Absolutely.
kind of thing to happen.
Yeah, but you keep, you prepare for the worst, but you don't believe that it'll happen, and this is the worst. And I can only say that I thank God for the police department and the fire department that we have, because this would be much, much worse. And I'm also very proud of the people of the city. We evacuated Lower Manhattan with literally thousands of people, walked along with them, and they conducted themselves really, really, really well.
Well, I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for communicating all this.
The Mayor of New York, Rudolph Giuliani, in his last term.
Peter Jennings interviewing Mayor Giuliani, as he said, needless to say, the Mayor of New York. A couple of things that we've got a lot of interviews from witnesses and victims, but we have to just take a moment because Bill Heitman was here. He was on the 80-something floor and he managed to get out, and he mentioned that as he was coming down, there were firefighters going up. And he was out of that building 1 minute before it came down. And the reason that he was crying on the set is because he knows that a full contingent of firefighters, New York's bravest, may have perished.
Yeah. Bill, do you know how many firefighters were going up as you all were coming down?
I passed during the course of that hour. Well, in the first half hour, we didn't see any firefighters because we were so far up. But as we started getting down into like the 40s and the 30s, more and more, I would say I passed probably 30 or more firefighters.
And Jim, that's not the only stairwell that they would have been going up, is that right?
Absolutely not. And the other thing to remember is this is what firemen do. They do this time and again. We all cover these minor fires, relatively minor fires, where firefighters, without a second thought, charge into the flames to rescue people. They didn't have any shortage of volunteers to go up into that building, because that is what they are trained to do, to save people's lives. And that's why Bill saw so many of them, and you have to believe so many of them did not get out of that building.
And Jim, it would be mostly those companies that are located down in Lower Manhattan that would have initially responded to that blaze, right?
Probably, yeah. Certainly the ones that Bill saw going up as he was coming down, those were neighborhood firemen who are trained to go up into the World Trade Center specifically to rescue people.
Bill and Diana, one of the things that the mayor said in that interview with Peter Jennings is that city government has been moved. Lower Manhattan is so debris-strewn at this point in time that the Office of Emergency Planning was damaged, and that City Hall had to be evacuated, and that the government has moved to a secure location in Midtown.
Roz, let me interrupt because we've got to go to Nina Pineda, who is out live right now. She is in Lower Manhattan, I believe. Nina, can we go to Nina?
We are still here on the Financial District. There is debris still falling. People are leaving in a flood from the Financial District. Their buildings have been shut down. They've been asked to leave. We are a block away from New York's downtown hospital, where they are busing in police. Police are busing in doctors, nurses, anybody with a medical background is being asked to try to come to some of these area hospitals as well as some of the outlying hospitals. We're also hearing from some of the medical personnel there by downtown hospital that they are in desperate need of blood. They haven't given us a word about where people can go and donate blood, but that is the situation at the hospital. Here, where we are on Pearl Street at Beekman, the ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby, where they report they believe there was a bomb in the lobby. Tell me what you saw again.
What I saw was debris all over. It wasn't even a lobby. And even the turnstile was burnt and was sticking up. And they just told us to run. And we went through the Marriott, and we came out through the financial system, and they just told us to run. And we ran. Debris was coming from all over the place. And then when you turned around, you saw casualties falling out the window. And then you saw the airplane on the World Trade Center 2 hit directly towards that building. That's
and
it.
you said, ma'am, that you thought that the plane was there to help you.
I thought it was. I thought it was.
And when you were coming down, you said there was no lobby. Can you describe to us the other victims at that time?
There was a woman there. Her face was just blown, just off. She laying there. My girlfriend, she had no shoes on.
So it was all the staff. I had to carry her on my back all the way down the stairs, carry her through the lobby. So I'm running. I didn't even feel her. I was so scared. There were people that got caught up in the floor. They were jumping out the windows. I mean, they were just laying on the floor. And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first. And a couple of seconds, then the first plane hit. As we got out, the second plane hit. And that went right into the building. And people were jumping on these cars. People were running. And some of us didn't make it.
As you left the World Trade, did you see, were other people running behind you?
Yes. People were running, tripping over each other, running, going crazy. It was horrible.
Okay.
It was horrible.
And you left several friends? There were several friends of yours?
I lost my girlfriend. I had no shoes. I had to carry her. We got separated when the second plane hit because everybody just, a mad rush, screaming. I just screamed and I lost her. I can't find her now. I don't know where she is.
I'm asthmatic and I had to get the mask.
Plenty of people here that left the World Trade Center. We've interviewed several as they were leaving. Excuse me. A lot of people here leaving the Wall Street area are covering their faces with masks. These are just some of the witness accounts from people that were right at ground zero when the plane hit both of the World Trade Centers, and then they believed there was a bomb in the lobby because they could not get out the lobby area, and the lobby area was burned. That is the latest from here in the Financial District. We'll check back with you in a few minutes. I'm Nina Pineda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Nina. We have one update. The President of the United States has been evacuated to a military base in Shreveport, Louisiana. And that's all we know at this point. As soon as we hear more, we will share it with you.
Absolutely. And you are watching ABC 7 right now as we continue to cover the attack on the Twin Trade Towers, an attack that has hit both here in New York and in Washington, D.C. And Jim Dolan is going to recap for the next 30 seconds or so about exactly what happened starting at 9 o'clock this morning.
It was actually just a few minutes before 9 o'clock, Diana. The first plane, an American Flight 11, Boeing 767, 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, hit the World Trade Center, again, approximately 8:50. At 9 o'clock, the second plane, an American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757 with 58 passengers on board, hit the second tower. Again, that was approximately 9 o'clock. About 9:40, a plane crashed into the Pentagon. That hit the wires about 9:43. We haven't talked much about that case. It was a devastating hit. A portion of one side of the 5-sided structure known as the Pentagon collapsed when the plane struck it. At 10:09 a.m., the South World Trade Tower collapsed. And then about 10 minutes later, a portion of the Pentagon collapsed as well. And that is where we stand at this hour.
Okay, and here's a few things, Jim, that we really don't know at this point. We do not know who is responsible for this attack, though there has been some speculation. We do not know the extent of the casualties, the injuries to the rescue personnel that were on the scene. We have seen Mayor Giuliani, and we understand that he will be talking to us shortly at some sort of news conference. He has been on the air with Peter Jennings, and we have heard on the air at ABC Governor Pataki. Obviously, there is much going on. This rescue operation trying to help people at hospitals down at the World Trade Center area still ongoing at this hour.
Just a moment ago, I said that the president had been taken to Louisiana, and we know for a fact now that he is at Burksdale Air Force Base, the President of the United States at Burksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana.
And Roz, we're going to go now to Andy Field, who has more information about what is happening in Washington. Andy.
Hi, Diana and Roz here. This is an unbelievable day here in Washington. There was a sense of panic across the city here. But the most important thing, the leader of the free world is not here right now. He is in Louisiana at an Air Force base, as you mentioned. He was on his way back to Washington on Air Force One when he got word of the attack. Reporters on the plane were told not to say where they were, not to use their cell phones, not to say anything until they got on the ground for fear that the president would be attacked as well. He has actually issued a statement. I don't know if you've put this on the air yet, but he said that, make no mistake, the U.S. will hunt down and punish those responsible for this attack. Now, the president, we're not certain whether he's coming back to Washington. The Secret Service has told us that there are safer places for him to be, that they have a plan in place for something just like this if it ever happened. And so the president may be flying from Louisiana to other locations to make sure that whoever might want to target him has less of a chance to do that. Also, on Capitol Hill, we're told that the leaders of the House and Senate were also evacuated and taken to secure locations. Vice President Cheney, the president's cabinet, as well as former presidents Bush, Carter, Ford, and Clinton have all been secured and sequestered. Now, let's go to what happened here earlier this morning, the attack on the Pentagon here. We are told that it is or was a passenger plane, that it flew low over the Pentagon parking lot, clipping light poles on its way to the outer ring of the Pentagon. There are 5 rings of the Pentagon, and actually plowed through the outer ring all the way into the A ring of the Pentagon, causing massive amounts of damage. In fact, we are told that the building walls have collapsed. Their firefighters have been on the scene all day long here trying to put out the fire, and the smoke is still visible from many parts of Washington here. You can see also at the White House, the Secret Service has surrounded the area there. They have evacuated that building, evacuated all federal buildings in the city. Most of official Washington has been sent home. The schools in the suburbs and in the city, many of them have closed today here. The banks have closed. The whole city is on the highest state of alert for any further terrorist attacks here in the city. Now, we're not told when the president is going to get back. Also, when people were evacuated here today, many did not want to take the metro system, the underground railroad that spreads out to all the different suburbs here. And they were seen walking home, a traffic jam, an immense traffic jam, because many of the major arteries, the north-south roads, Route 95 and Route 395 that go past the Pentagon, they were all closed and evacuated.
Andy Field, this is Roz Abrams in New York. Can you hear me?
Yes, Roz.
Okay, have you had a chance to talk to anyone who was in the Pentagon or in the State Department or at any of these locations when the bombs went off?
I have not personally talked to anyone at the Pentagon. We did talk to someone at the State Department earlier today. There was a rumor that there was a car bomb that might have exploded at the State Department. From everything we've heard, that is not true. It may be that a car bomb was found, but as far as we know, nothing has exploded there. And you can hear some of the sirens in the background here. Emergency vehicles are combing the city here. Certainly nothing as horrendous as what happened in New York here, but they're prepared for even more here, and they want to make sure that the terrorists don't have a chance to strike again.
Andy, this is Diana in New York. I imagine that when this happened, you all were just getting word of the World Trade Tower incident happening, the plane having flown into the World Trade Tower. The second one happened. Was there any, what was going through your mind as you're watching that? Was there immediate concern that something could happen in Washington?
It was horrendous, as I'm sure many people in New York felt the very first plane might have been an accident. They were horrified to see that explosion. When it was the second one, everyone in Washington went on high alert. As a matter of fact, I was on my way back over to the White House to get my White House pass renewed. People who cover the White House regularly get a permanent White House pass to get in there. As I was going over there, the Secret Service brushed us away.
Andy, I don't mean to cut you off, but the president spoke from Barksdale Air Force Base just a few moments ago, and we've had a chance to turn that around. So we want to share with our viewers what Mr. Bush had to say regarding the events of this day.
Okay.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. I want to reassure the American people that the full resources of the federal government are working to assist local authorities to save lives and to help the victims of these attacks. Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts. I've been in regular contact with the Vice President, Secretary of Defense, the National Security Team, and my cabinet. We have taken all appropriate security precautions to protect the American people. Our military at home and around the world is on high alert status, and we have taken the necessary security precautions to continue the functions of your government. We have been in touch with the leaders of Congress and with world leaders to assure them that we will do whatever is necessary to protect America and Americans. I ask the American people to join me in saying a thanks for all the folks who have been fighting hard to rescue our fellow citizens, and to join me in saying a prayer for the victims and their families. the resolve of our great nation.
You were just listening to a statement from the President of the United States. He is at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. He opened it by saying freedom itself has been attacked today, but he was ever the commander-in-chief, very much in control, very reassuring in his statements and his remarks about the government is okay.
Yes, and there is going to be much to do ahead. You're looking at a live picture of Lower Manhattan right now, and as we've said earlier, that they are trying to evacuate, trying to get people out of that area as far as the Upper West Side. They're trying to pull people out of that area. This is going to have a huge impact on the financial portion of this city. We've got the stock market closed today, obviously no election today. Bill Heitman, who is with us, who works for a brokerage firm down in that part of, was actually in the World Trade Center when this happened. Bill, can you give us an idea? You said earlier you have no idea when you will be going back to work. What about the stock market? What about business down in this area? What kind of impact is this going to have?
I can't imagine that anything could resume this week. I just can't even imagine it, you know.
Bill, the computers, that kind of thing, those are all inside this building or nearby?
Yeah, I mean, not from the New York Stock Exchange, but I'm sure just so many computer networks are just destroyed as a result of this. Yeah.
We have a construction worker who saw the events of this morning, I'm told, as they unfolded. Perhaps we can get the control room to cue up that tape, and we'll roll that now.
First plane looked like it was circling around both buildings, and then all of a sudden it went in from the back and the front just exploded outwards. Big huge flame. Then about 10 minutes later a second plane came and it did the same thing, but it just went into the first World Trade Center on a lower level, and it blew out. Yeah, the second one hit building 2, and a big huge ball of fire just blasted out. Then right after that, I'm sitting down and I'm crying, and I couldn't believe something like this would actually happen. And about 10 minutes later, then the whole building just started to collapse. And now 2 seconds ago, both of them collapsed. So now there's no more World Trade Center.
No, there is no more World Trade Center. Both buildings are gone. Bill Heitman, again, who's in our studio with us right now, was in one of the towers when the plane hit. He is one of many, fortunately, who did manage to get out. You were also there in '93 when the blast happened, the bombing at the World Trade Center in 1993. Jim Dolan was there as well. And Jim made the comment a short while ago that this, in a sense, it was a little bit easier for people to get out because the blast in '93 was in the basement, right, Jim?
The blast in '93 was in the basement, and so all of that smoke filled the stairways and it was like a chimney. And as Bill and others were trying to get out of that building then, the smoke was, Bill, you may remember, thick black smoke, not as bad getting out this time, at least below the 81st floor.
Not as bad. Just for that reason alone, I can imagine, just because it was above us. Right. Thank heavens.
But of course, above the explosion, people trying to get out from above the explosion were going through the same smoke that you were going through back then to get out.
I can't imagine how they did that.
Yeah.
I myself right now don't have any idea at what floor this hit, what floors. I just know top floors, you know.
Bill, you talked earlier about the stairway and how many people were coming out and also going up on the stairway. You were on 4 stairways in each building, so all of those stairways filled with people all trying to get out, and we can have some hope and pray that a lot of people were able to escape because of that, those 4 stairways.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to go now to N.J. Burkett, who's pulled some video and also some other information for us, so let's see if we can go to that tape if possible.
Oh my God, there it goes!
I saw a silver flash, and then the flames, and I saw a pointy tail. That's how I knew it was a plane. It's like a silver flash. It was sunny today, so it was silver. And I saw the tail. Because it went in. If it was a bomb, it would have gone out, and it went in. And everything was pushed in. And then we saw the people jumping. We saw what we thought was debris, and we realized it was people jumping. I can't do anymore.
The pain and the anguish of a witness who saw people jumping from the windows of one of the towers before it came down.
That was N.J. Burkett, by the way, and his crew. Marty was with him, and thankfully they're safe, and so all of our crews are right now, safe and sound. But they were clearly there when the collapse happened. And as you can see, when it happened, people in the streets desperately running for their lives to get under cover and away from the collapse of that building. And Bill Heitman here with us in the studio right now, one of those people who was running.
Yeah, I mean, it's so strange when you're in a situation like that you know less about what's going on than the people that are seeing the footage afterwards, and it's amazing. But the footage that I just saw of those people running is exactly what I went through. It's the same exact thing.
And what were you feeling? Were you feeling at that point that this was a run for your life?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't know what was happening. I think I mentioned before that I thought we were being shot at. I didn't, but then all of a sudden this cloud of dust came and we just didn't know what was happening. It wasn't until someone actually mentioned to you the building collapsed, and you just don't, you don't believe it.
Can I just interject something here as the people at home are watching our coverage? There has been a call for blood donations. A lot of people have been hurt today, so if there's any way that you can find a way to give blood, it is desperately needed. We are also told that as police and rescue personnel evacuate Lower Manhattan, some are being brought to Lincoln Center, which just happens to be a little more than a block away from our studio. So if that is in fact the case and people begin arriving, we will have cameras there to keep you updated. Also, the entire nation basically is on a high state of alert from coast to coast. Air traffic has been halted. High-profile buildings have been evacuated. The United Nations building here in New York, one of those buildings evacuated. Chicago, the Sears Tower. But, as we just heard from the President of the United States, who is not in Washington, by the way, he is at an Air Force base in Louisiana, the person or persons responsible for all this will, in fact, be hunted down. A direct quote from him: "Freedom was attacked today, but we will find those responsible, and they will be punished."
And as we've been reporting, the call has gone out to all emergency personnel, to police officers, to firefighters, to come into work today, and they are not hesitating. I know as I was racing to get into the city this morning, there were emergency vehicles all around coming in from Westchester County, and I'm sure they're coming in from New Jersey and other areas, people who just want to help. Blood donations, Roz, as you say, extremely vital. Please understand that right now the hospitals are working desperately to try and help the injured. They're in need of supplies, I am sure, all sorts of saline solutions necessary for burns. There would be cuts. There would be smoke inhalation. You saw the dust that this has created in Lower Manhattan. I talked to Dr. Jay Adlersberg before I came down onto the set, and he said that dust can get into your lungs very easily because it's a very fine dust, and that is why so many people are wearing these masks right now and trying to protect themselves from inhaling this dust. And so you see that. Emergency personnel, as we say, in Lower Manhattan. You're looking at a live picture from Newscopter 7 of the devastation that this has created. There are no more twin trade towers in Lower Manhattan right now.
Jim Dolan, aircraft today have been involved in tragedies the likes of which we have never seen before. Have we gotten any responses from any of the airlines involved?
Well, American Airlines, of course, one of the two airlines most deeply involved in this, issued a statement just a short while ago. American Airlines confirmed that it lost 2 aircraft in tragic incidents this morning. American said that flights were Flight 11, a Boeing 767. Some of this we've already reported, of course, en route from Boston to Los Angeles, with 81 passengers, 9 flight attendants, and 2 pilots on board. and Flight 77, a Boeing 757 operating from Washington Dulles to Los Angeles with 58 passengers, 4 flight attendants, and 2 pilots on board. And they said because of the heightened security due to the nature of today's events, American has said it is working closely with government authorities and will not release any further information at this point. You know, we've been talking throughout the morning about who might be responsible for this. We just want to point out that Afghanistan's Taliban rulers issued a statement just a short while ago condemning today's attack and rejecting suggestions that Osama bin Laden was behind them. Obviously, he has been the main person we have been talking about today in terms of somebody who could have the organization, could have the financial backing to pull something like this off. The Taliban, which we should point out, is not always in touch with Osama bin Laden and not always in control of him. Certainly, they reject the notion that he might be behind this.
All right, Jim Dolan bringing us up to date on the airline's response to, at least one airline's response to the incidents of the day. Diana,
Okay.
something has just been sent down to the floor. Do you have it?
Absolutely, Roz. We have just been sent some information from the Associated Press about the Taliban and their reaction. They are condemning this terrorist attack in New York and in Washington, and they have rejected suggestions that Osama bin Laden is behind these terrorist attacks. We have Abdul Hai Mutman, the Taliban spokesman, who is in Kandahar, and he tells the Associated Press in a phone interview that they do not support terrorism and that they, too, are targets of terrorism. Okay, so, Roz, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I understand that Lauren Glassberg is at St. Vincent's Hospital. We're going to go to her. Lauren, do you have an update for us? Lauren, go ahead.
It's okay, brother. It's all right. I'm going to have him bring an HMI.
Go, Lauren.
Unfortunately, we lost her. As we have explained for quite some time, our communications were damaged as far as our cell phones were concerned. It's impossible for us to talk back to our reporters at this point in time. Okay. But all things considered, just a second, Diana, all things considered, we're doing pretty good, but that's why we go to people and they can't always hear us, but it's all in an effort just to bring information to you. Now, Diana.
We are going to go back to Lauren Roz. We do have her, I understand.
We are
Lauren.
live at St. Vincent's Hospital, and we just got a briefing from the Chief of Trauma, Dr. Blumenthal, and he has told us that 2 people have died. They were in critical condition. So far, 184 people have been transported to St. Vincent's Hospital. That was about 10 minutes ago, but in the last couple minutes, we've seen a couple more, so we should probably be able to bring that number up to 190. 8 of them are still in critical condition, but doctors say they expect many more fatalities for the people, among the people who are being treated here. Among the injuries, we're dealing with fractures, cuts, lacerations, bruises, and also the smoke inhalation that resulted from the building collapses that took place. They are still calling for blood donors to come out, not to St. Vincent's, but to other area hospitals in your neighborhood. That's the best thing you should do. They desperately need blood because they're dealing with so many people. The other major trauma center is Bellevue Hospital. There, a couple hundred people are being treated as well. The doctors tell us they are in disbelief with what they are seeing, with what has transpired. So it is very difficult, the situation under which they are working, but they're trained for this. This is a level 1 trauma center, and they have been taking volunteer doctors and nurses. They're at capacity right now. My own father, who's a surgeon, has volunteered, and he's been called in to assist in any of the surgery for the critically injured as well. But 184, or upwards of that at this point, who've been treated here, 2 deceased so far among those who've been brought over to St. Vincent's Hospital. 6 people who are being treated here are firefighters or police officers, and that is really the latest at this point. We have clergy on hand, and a lot of people just gathered around. Let me just swing the camera around here so you can see. People have been gathering around, just watching, trying to feel a sense of community and perhaps giving out strength to the people who are being rushed over to St. Vincent's Hospital. That's where we're live. Lauren Glassberg, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you very much, Ron. We've mentioned that there is a need for emergency personnel, police and firefighters, but we should also mention there's a need for nurses and doctors, nurses' aides. If you can get into the city and help out, I'm sure it would be much appreciated. I want to get one quick footnote in here, too. We do also have from the Associated Press that there is a London-based Arab journalist who said that followers of bin Laden warned 3 weeks ago that they would carry out a huge and unprecedented attack on U.S. interests. So there was apparently that warning 3 weeks ago.
Just before we move on, where is that coming from? Is that UP, AP?
This is the Associated Press.
Associated Press,
And
okay.
it's a London-based journalist who got that threat 3 weeks ago. We should point out probably that those are the kinds of threats, the kinds of bluster that reporters who cover this area get all the time. In this case, he said he didn't take it seriously at the time because he gets them all the time, and it was so unspecific. But obviously, it's given more credence now.
Right. Jim Hoffer, standing by. He has an update for us. Jim, come in, please.
Bottom half of the building is on fire. Yep.
I can speak louder, Jim. We're going to wait for him because I see that he is ready to go. Jim, go ahead.
Okay, well, obviously, as you understand, we do not have cell phone communication with our folks out in the field. And in fact, even live communication with them sometimes, as you can see, is extremely difficult, in part because so much of our equipment was located on top of the World Trade Center. That equipment obviously gone. Let's go back to Jim. Jim, can you hear us?
Well, it is almost impossible, really, to describe the enormity of what has happened here today. You can really see it on the faces of the hundreds of people that are walking out of Lower Manhattan. It's an eerie silence. Many of them not even talking. They're really trying to process the enormity of this apocalyptic tragedy. But among these people, there are plenty of heroes, which we will hear about over the next few days, weeks, and months. And one of them is a gentleman by the name of Chris Magnatta. If you can imagine, he was in Tower 1 when the first plane struck it. He was able to survive coming down 80 floors of stairs, but rather than fleeing to try and protect himself from any further harm, he went back inside to try and rescue other people. Let's listen to what he has to say about that.
As you can see, you rolling? Okay. As you can see behind me, the second and last tower of the World Trade Tower has just collapsed. It is about 10:30 Eastern Time, and the tower has collapsed. We did not hear an explosion. There was no sign telling us previous any kind of warning that the building was going to collapse. The warning for us were people just running in our direction, and that's when we started to get out of the way. It is a scene.
You want to open our mics? Okay, obviously that wasn't...
Another eyewitness that we spoke to down here said that this is an act of war, and with tears in his eyes, he shook his head and he said, but how? He pondered how, in fact, could a rogue terrorist group find the know-how, the resources, and have the sophistication to pull off something as cataclysmic as the collapse of the two trade towers. But indeed they did, and these terrorist groups, whomever they are, changed forever the city skyline, and really the city, if not the world. Back to you.
All right, Mr. Hoffer, thank you. The questions that you raised, needless to say, will be answered in the days and weeks and months.
Absolutely, and I have to ask Jim here, Jim having covered the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center, Jim, the investigation on that, how did it progress? How will this investigation progress?
Well, keep in mind the World Trade Center explosion was a very small area. In terms of forensic evidence, it was actually pretty easy to solve. They found the one truck inside that World Trade Center that exploded from within and not from without. They traced that truck back to the people who had rented the truck. You'll remember it was a Ryder van. They traced it back to them. It was pretty easy to find out the people who planted that bomb. This is a much different situation. Obviously, the Taliban today saying Osama bin Laden doesn't have the resources to pull something major like this off. But if Osama bin Laden doesn't, who does? Someone certainly pulled it off today.
And there had to have been amazing resources to pull this off. You're talking about a number of planes hijacked. There had to have been resources within the airports. There had to...
Hijacked and then flown to their targets. Remember, the pilots who were originally on board those aircrafts weren't the ones who flew them into the World Trade Center. Someone with sophistication and know-how to pilot those aircrafts had to fly them into the towers, and then, of course, also into the Pentagon.
A suicide flyer, obviously. We're joined also in the studio this morning, or this afternoon rather, by Bill Heitman, who was in one of the towers when this happened. And Bill, after hearing Jim Hoffer and seeing him running from the scene there as the building collapsed, I was wondering, as you were trying to get out, you were in the darkened stairwell for an hour, did it ever cross your mind that the building might collapse?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, there was good spirit in the stairwell. I mean, I can honestly say we were having some laughs. You know, we were just getting down, making the best of it. Some people had to. It was more urgent for them to get down, so we would all call out, "Move to the right," and they would proceed down. But there was no panic, and there was generally, considering the circumstances, good spirit in the stairwell.
Again, as you said earlier, it didn't seem to be as bad as the other explosion, the first explosion.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So no clue, and no panic as you were going down.
No panic. The thought of the building collapsing or being in any more danger never crossed my mind.
And then, Bill, you said it wasn't... Sorry?
Jim, I'm sorry to interrupt because I want to just point out in this live picture here, what you're looking at is damage to an adjoining building. Obviously, the impact of this, not just to those twin towers, but also to adjoining buildings. And it looks like there is still, obviously, smoke, and I think I saw some flames there as well, Jim. So clearly there is still damage. And
they're all bunched up so closely together down there, obviously, and there was bound to be collateral damage in the neighboring businesses and buildings.
Bill, as you were going down that darkened stairwell, and you say you had no thought that the building might collapse, was that because you had faith in the integrity of the building, or simply because you did not know what was going on?
I had no idea the magnitude of the crash above us. We didn't know that we didn't know anything had happened over in 2. We thought it was just us in 1. And as the further we got down, you figure you're 90 floors away from the worst of it. I figured when we came out into the concourse level of the building that everything would appear to be relatively normal. But when we got down into the concourse level, which is very much like a shopping mall, it was just flooded. It was, and emergency personnel were very, very urgently trying to get us out of the building. And
So were people milling around down there trying to check on others in the building? Or
No,
were they
as soon as you came out of the
out?
stairwell, there was great urgency. Just personnel, just go that way, get out, and everybody was just walking through water.
Sir, can I ask you to stand by for just a moment? Mary Johnson on the phone. She is with the New York Hospital Association, and this is a theme that you are going to hear not only throughout this day, but for many days to come, and that is the urgent need for blood. Mary, you want to talk to us some more about that?
Hi. Yes, the New York Blood Center has announced a blood emergency for the Greater New York and New Jersey metropolitan area, and the Blood Center as well as the Greater New York Hospital Association are urging all eligible donors to make blood donations at donor sites in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Long Island, New Jersey, and Westchester. I can read off some of those addresses if you'd like. I can also give you the toll-free number to call about where to donate, and that is 1-800-933-2566. There are 2 addresses in Manhattan, the New York Blood Center at 310 East 67th Street, that's between 1st and 2nd, as well as the Red Cross's offices at 150 Amsterdam Avenue at 66th Street. I have heard that there are some lines at that location, and we just ask people to know that we greatly appreciate, their efforts to donate blood, and that in the coming days and weeks, we will need blood donations. So if the line is long, just ask when you can come back, or please come back at another time, because at this point, it's hard to assess exactly how much blood we'll need, but we have been hearing from some of our members that they do need blood, and they're going to need it in the coming days.
That's what I was going to ask, Mary. Any indication of how much blood is needed and how extensive the need is in that area in the hospitals?
Well, what I can tell you is, in general, New York has a shortage of blood. So at this point in time, when we, have unknown medical emergencies to an unknown degree coming in, we do need people to just go to these locations, and I can read them if you'd like. And also, there are many hospitals in the area who can collect their own blood. So people could also check with their local hospital.
Okay, and Jim Dolan here just pointed out, I know you're at the end of the summer and blood supplies are always very low during the summer months, so I can imagine the need is very great.
The need is very great, and we greatly appreciate everyone's help, and I'm just going to read that 1-800 number again, 1-800-933-2566. If you need locations, otherwise
Mary, this is Roz Abrams. I say we take the time now to give the locations.
Okay.
If you have them in front of you,
yes, I
it's
do.
that important. Fire away.
Okay. In Manhattan, the New York Blood Center at 310 East 67th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenues. The Red Cross at 150 Amsterdam Avenue at 66th Street. In Brooklyn, 120 Lawrence Street near Metro Tech. In Staten Island, 1625 Forest Avenue. In Long Island, there are 4 locations. 2500 Marcus Avenue in Lake Success, 3125 Veterans Highway in Bohemia, 333 Merrick Road in Rockville Center, and Route 10 North in Huntington. In Westchester, there's a donation site at 525 Executive Boulevard in Elmsford, and in New Jersey at 167 New Street in New Brunswick. And also I want to announce that many hospitals do have blood collection efforts. I faxed a copy of that. Perhaps we can put it up later on the screen.
Mary, perhaps we can. Needless to say, we are going to take some of those locations that you just shared with us and put them, on the screen at various times throughout this day.
Okay.
Because blood collection, very important. Diana.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've put up that 1-800 number for you as well, Mary, and we'll continue to put that up this afternoon. So good luck to you, Mary, and to anyone who's listening right now, if you can donate blood, it is very much needed. Obviously, we're still looking at the scene here in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, so much smoke. We want to go now to a firefighter who was on the scene and hear what he has to say.
I saw people originally coming out the window, and I was, at that time I was quite upset about it, that I thought we should get in there. But then the explosion on the South World Trade happened, and I said, this is something we have to do, we have to back out. We backed out over here, and even then, that's when I was caught again in the second explosion.
Yeah, I went up to the elevator, the 24th floor. As soon as we get up there, the elevator get out. I got power, we lost power in the elevator. Thank God we kept one of the truck guys there, and he forced the door, and then we worked our way down the stairs. As we came downstairs, we were just dragging people along with us, and then when we came outside, it just blew, the tower blew, and I found the mask on the floor as I was crawling.
Amazing sound from a firefighter who was on the scene. We have been on the air now for several hours, since 9 o'clock this morning, covering this event, and we obviously still do not know the extent of the injuries, of the casualties. We can only guess that they are quite massive, and I know there is great relief to those who see any family, any friends on our air who are okay. And as we can get information about numbers to call, about what you can do, we will be bringing that information to you as quickly as possible. You're looking at a live picture from Newscopter 7 right now, and of course you can see that there is fire in adjacent buildings. There is problems, serious problems still in that area down in Lower Manhattan.
A story that just crossed the wire, and one we haven't talked about in the last hour or so. International airlines had to scramble to divert or cancel flights going to the United States. Undoubtedly, there are people in our audience today who were going to JFK Airport to pick up friends, loved ones, business associates, and those people couldn't land here. A couple of hours ago, Canada said, if you like, you can use any and all of our airports here because we feel that they are safe. The cancellations and diversions caused confusion and congestion, not only at airports in this country, but at many European airlines, where airlines ordered flights bound for the United States to do U-turns or to find alternative landing points outside of America. Some airlines reversed course only after being denied permission to land by the FAA, which ordered the U.S. airspace, and this is all across the country. They sterilized the airspace over the entire United States. European airlines, American airlines, sorting out how they're going to get these people home. All I can tell the folks at home is that as we go throughout this day, we will be efforting information to find out about the people on those planes, where they are, whether they're in Canada, which planes were diverted back to their original points of origin. As we get information on this, we will share it with you.
Absolutely. We have Celeste Ford, who is at JFK Airport right now for us. Celeste, give us an idea of what's going on there right now.
We're told that all air travel nationwide is still suspended, and we do not have a sense from the Federal Aviation Administration as to when air travel will be allowed to resume. That also includes international flights. They will not be landing. The skies remain frozen. This has caused huge delays for an untold number of air travelers, including those here at Kennedy Airport. We were at LaGuardia Airport earlier. Perhaps behind me you can see that we have a brown van and a white van there. They were just loaded up with luggage and passengers. The airlines here are trying to accommodate them by taking them to nearby hotels, making arrangements for them, phone calls, food. Nationwide, this is going on. And it's been a difficult situation, especially at LaGuardia earlier, when they evacuated the terminals because they were concerned over the terrorist threat. Thousands of people were forced to stand outside on the access ramps that run through the airport. They couldn't use their cell phones because the service has been so limited. And even if you could get to a pay phone or a hard line to try to call home or make arrangements, because of the call volume, you couldn't get through to anyone. So it's been a very difficult time. I was somewhat taken aback when I went over to the Port Authority police headquarters at LaGuardia Airport, and an officer there told me that they had no phone service and they were relying on their radios to patrol the terminals at the airport. Bear in mind that the Port Authority hub was at the World Trade Center complex. Now, I spoke with the president of JetBlue Airlines. That's a small local carrier, to get a sense of how this is working. And Dave Barger told me that they are in direct contact with the Federal Aviation Administration. They are waiting for word. They have heard nothing yet. This particular airline has 17 planes. 12 of them are at JetBlue cities, but 5 of them were in the air and were diverted when this catastrophe happened and were forced to make emergency landings. And they are still waiting for some sense of when air travel will resume, along with many, many air travelers who've been stranded because of this. And we're live at Kennedy Airport. Celeste Ford, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you very much. Celeste Ford is at the airport. We want to go now to Jeff Rawson, who is downtown in Lower Manhattan for us. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can, Diana. We're just getting our first look ground level at what was the World Trade Center as we give you a live picture down Church Street. The smoke cleared just about a minute ago, enough for us to see there is just a shell left of at least what we saw, one of the towers. You can see that the smoke is still billowing. It's still black smoke, which means this is still very much an active fire. Police and emergency officials are here. In fact, we saw I'd say about 150 to 200 workers who came in here earlier who were walking from there. They were just called in and walked out. Iron workers, steel workers, whoever they could find, and they're going to donate blood, which we've been speaking about on the air, which is so very important in this time of need. Let me show you what else is going on. As we come around to the street corner, police keeping people back. I'd say we're a good couple football fields away from where the World Trade Center is and was. People now have masks on. Of course, the air out here is bad, hard to breathe at some points. In fact, when the building collapsed earlier, everyone was just running for wherever they could get into, including us. And we want to give you some video, and we want to give you some sound bites, some people who are actually stuck in this at the moment of impact. Let's roll that from the truck right now, Danny, if we could.
Senator, I guess something fell and just hit and just blew out the plaza we were on.
What happened then? What was it?
Well, it was complete dark. There is no light. So thank God somebody with little light came up, because we couldn't even see what's happening. We all, with dust and debris and...
How'd you get out?
Well, the firefighter, somebody with little light came eventually, and we were following him.
And go to...
What did you do? I'm sorry.
The police officer told everybody to form a human chain, and we held on to each other, and he flashed the light, and he directed us to Building 5, and we went out Building 5.
Did you see people bleeding, and what did you see?
Oh, everybody could see. Do you want blood? Here's blood. Everybody's bleeding. People are laying all over the floor. It's horrible. And I was there the first time, and this is twice.
One man said he was walking by and saw bodies laying as he was trying to walk out of the World Trade Center. And when this happened, people were so desperate, such times of desperation, that moment, one girl bleeding with dust all over her, bleeding from head to toe, ran into our live van, to take cover. Police walking by now with water and masks, trying to give them to as many people as they can, because again, it is hard to breathe out here at times. And you can see just in the past couple of moments here, as we've been on the air live from Lower Manhattan, the smoke has gotten even more dark, which means police are still battling this blaze, and we understand Secret Service and military officials are here now going through the debris, trying to find fatalities, injuries, trying to find exactly where the impact was on the World Trade Center. Back to you.
Jeff, we understand you can hear us. Is that correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we're delighted because we have a number of questions to ask you. First of all, as we look at that scene behind you, is the dust from the Trade Center towers as they fell, or is that smoke still from fires that are in the area and fires in buildings that are adjacent to the Trade Center buildings?
You're seeing a little bit of both as we stay up here for a moment. Yeah, that is smoke you're seeing on your screen right now. As we come down street level, the stuff you see blowing around is basically this. This is dust actually from the World Trade Center. That's what's blowing around on the ground level. In fact, as you look down on the ground, here's a car right now. Maybe this is an emergency. You can see the dust on it. That's the dust you're seeing blowing around.
But Jeff, how difficult is it making firefighters' efforts to be back in that area, in that dust? Can they see?
They can't see much. In fact, a couple of them came out, and in the first couple of moments it was interesting because when that first impact happened, obviously fire officials rushed to fight it. Problem was, then a collapse happened, and then another collapse happened, and every time they would make some progress and move in, they'd have to run back away again. And they had to go back, and that went on for a little while. Now, only now, is the dust beginning to settle into the ground, and they're able to see a little bit, but certainly the flames and the smoke that you still see is becoming an issue.
Jeff, it's Roz Abrams. Can I just ask you, I am just a little confused, how far are you from ground zero?
Well, let's see here. We're on a Church and Reed, so I'd say, again, a good couple of football fields away, far enough where police feel that we're safe. We were actually a little closer about an hour ago. Police kept moving us back because of the uncertainty.
And Jeff, we've seen a number of vehicles coming out. Are these people who are still leaving the area? Are these emergency vehicles? Tell us what you're seeing in terms of people coming and going out of that area.
Yeah, this has become a main corridor. Police have closed Church Street to all traffic except emergency vehicles. Excuse me, I'm sorry, that's the air I was talking about. It gets into your lungs. They've cleared Church Street now just for emergency vehicles, and we're seeing ambulances in and out, and this is the main corridor police and fire officials are using to get in. We're seeing a good many go in and then they come out. It has been ambulances. They've come by so fast you can't look inside, but certainly, presumably, they do have victims inside they're trying to treat, and this has become the main corridor for that.
Jeff, Jim Dolan's on the set here with us right now. He's got a question for you as well.
Go ahead, Jim.
Jeff, when you first started out, you were saying that the smoke had cleared sufficiently to see down there. By the time we got to it, it appears that there was more smoke. Is that your take on it as well?
Yeah, in fact, I can show you now. I mean, we were able to look straight down this street, and we actually had a perfect view of what was that tower. But now you can't see much. It's almost like the smoke will come in waves. Right now we're in a very heavy wave right now. But it did clear for a while. Now it seems to be back in full effect.
Okay, and wind down there, because I'm trying to look at the shot as you take it up. Is there wind or no wind down there, and how is that impacting the smoke and the dust?
A little bit of wind, but not much. I mean, you know, I'm trying to give you an idea. Let's go a shot at some of the papers just to show the kind of wind we're talking about. It's not much, 5 miles per hour at most. Wind doesn't appear to be a huge factor right now, but the wind is blowing a little bit, and it's blowing the flames around. It's getting even worse as we talk here.
Okay.
I can't imagine how they would see down there.
And Jeff, is it safe to say pretty much everybody is out of that area right now except for essential personnel?
Yeah, they've made sure of that. They have made sure of that. In fact, we saw it's come down a little bit now. In fact, as we come to the right here, Tide, you can see the military personnel. This is the Marines right here, and they're around. They have been doing their best. You can see all the emergency officials working together to get everyone out of the area. Police were escorting people. In fact, they had a couple of school buses, and they even had a city bus earlier going in, taking people out, because, obviously you have people that want to see what's going on, but it's certainly dangerous. They've been moving everybody out as they possibly can, and now on this street corner, on all these street corners, back a little bit where we are, people are beginning to gather, but I think it is safe to say that police have gotten everyone out of that immediate area where it's dangerous.
Okay, Jeff, we are delighted to be able to actually communicate with you, and so we know you'll be staying in that area, and we will be coming back to talk with you. I just want to add here that I'm joined now by Bill Ritter on the set. We're going to, throughout the afternoon, be continuing to trade out a little bit. We've got a number of people who are working in the newsroom trying to gather information. Obviously, on the set, as soon as we get that information, we will be bringing that to you as quickly as possible. Bill?
Diana, we want to go to Lori Stokes, who's been updating our information from the newsroom. She's at the flash cam for us. Lori, you have the immediate closures and openings and transportation issues for the city of New York, right?
I do, Bill. Also, I have some information on the judicial front as far as the New York State goes. I have information now that all state courts will be closed in about 2 minutes as of 2 o'clock. Apparently, every state courthouse in New York will be closed at 2. That is according to the Office of Court Administration. Now, as you mentioned, on the transportation front, a very significant news item to bring you, that all bridges now are open going out of New York. That's important that you know that it's only out of New York. Also, Manhattan Bridge at 59th Street Bridge open only going east. Nothing else coming in. Once again, also, Metro North is offering limited service out of Grand Central, again, only out of the city. Now, in Newark, in New Jersey Transit has restored extremely limited train service on the Northeast Corridor line between Newark and Trenton. Also, on the North Jersey coastline between Newark and Bayhead, and the Raritan Valley line that's between Newark and High Bridge. All trains into, out of New York remain suspended. Hudson Bergen Light Rail is running only south Marion Boulevard, and also bus service is running throughout New Jersey, but not into or out of New York City. However, Access Link service for the disabled is also suspended. But probably the most major news to come out of this, at least at this moment at 1:59, as far as we've been talking about the bridge closures, is that the bridges are open going out of the city. Bill and Diana, back to you.
Okay, and that's very important, Lori, to note. The bridges are open and going out.
Outbound.
Don't be coming into the city. They don't want you in the city right now. Only emergency personnel are needed in the city. I want everyone to take a look right now at the screen because we do have some home video that was shot of this incident. Let's take a look, if we can, and roll that home video so you can see what happened earlier today.
That was the second tower that you saw. The first one had already been attacked. The second tower with a jumbo jet. And there have been so many conflicting reports. We have been reporting earlier that it was a commuter plane that attacked the first one. We are now getting reports that it may have been a 767 that attacked the first one, and also, of course, the jumbo jet that ran into the second one. And that would explain this missing plane that has crashed. If we have perhaps four planes accounted for, one was not a commuter jet.
This home video is on the other side of the river. Yeah.
No, is this from the Hudson?
New Jersey side, Jim?
It looks like it's either from Staten Island or from New Jersey.
Staten Island, New Jersey. Okay, these are home video pictures that you're looking at. As you're looking at these, I want to mention that right now we've been joined on this set by Jose Sanchez. And Jose was on his way to school this morning. He goes to school at BMCC. He also works here in our studios and has just gotten back from that area because, Jose, you were down there when this happened. Tell us what you saw.
Well, I was on my way to school, and then I hear a plane coming down, and I turned around, and all I saw was the big explosion into the first building. And I thought it was just an accident, so I went into class, had class about 20 minutes, and the teacher said a second plane hit the other building, so then they evacuated the whole school, and like a whole bunch, about like 500 students were all outside. We saw the fire. We saw about 20, 25 people just jump off.
How far away is BMCC from the World Trade Center?
Probably maybe about a mile, less than that, 15 blocks.
You heard the impact of the second one?
Yeah, you could hear it. It was loud.
Did you feel it?
Like the first time when I walked in, I didn't feel it, but I jumped because you could tell. And then when we were all outside, all we was looking at all the people falling, and then the first building collapsed. Everyone was scared, so then we ran down, left through the back entrance. We were looking at a street about maybe, now we're like 25 blocks away. No cell phones were working, trying to call people, nothing happened. Then I saw the other building collapse all the way to the ground, and the smoke started to come there. I said we just all ran looking for a train.
You said you saw people fall?
Yeah, no, jump.
Jump?
Like 20 to 25 people. Because I think because the heat was too much.
How far up were they?
Like,
a
lot.
Oh, gosh.
How did you get back uptown?
Walked.
You walked all the way from the
World Trade? None of the trains. I looked for 34th Street, 28th Street, 50th Street, 42nd. None of the trains worked. None of the buses worked.
Jose, what was going through your mind when you saw this? Did you have any idea what was happening?
Honestly, to me, it looked like another world war. like the Hiroshima bomb or something like that.
Well, did you think that's what it was, or did you know at that point that
I didn't know. I was hoping it's
tower?
not a war, but the way things are happening, like I heard on the radio, the Pentagon and everything, it sounds like it's heading to that.
What exactly did your teacher tell you, Jose?
The teacher he left the middle class, went to get some information. He said that the second airplane hit the second building. And when he told me that, I was like, I don't know, that sounds like an accident. So they evacuated the whole building.
And how were the kids reacting? How were your classmates reacting?
A lot of them were just crying and everything, and just trying to call their parents to make sure that the ones that worked there, that they didn't die or anything.
You've called your parents?
Yeah.
They know you're okay before they're watching you on television,
Yeah,
right?
even my mom works down there, called to make sure that she was safe.
And she's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
What are your thoughts as you see these pictures of what happened this morning, Jose?
Terrible. Terrible. I don't even know what to say about it. When I saw the first building collapse, I was in shock. I couldn't even say anything. It's unbelievable.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right.
How old are you?
18.
Okay. Jose Sanchez, a student in Lower Manhattan and a part-time worker here at the WABC on the weekends. Thanks, Jose.
All right, thank you.
Well, I think we should probably recap at this point, don't you, Jim, a little bit about the timeline of what happened this morning. This morning at 9 o'clock, a plane struck the World Trade Center. And Jim, you have been keeping up with this timeline and kind of been able to put this into better words. Why don't you go through what happened for us this morning, and maybe we can roll some more tape of this incident.
Well, Diana, everything changed at 8:50 this morning. The first plane, American Airlines Flight 11, a Boeing 767 with 81 passengers on board. It was supposed to be going from Boston to Los Angeles. It was hijacked, and en route it crashed into the World Trade Center. That was about 8:50 this morning. About 10 minutes later, the second plane, American Airlines Flight 77, a Boeing 757, this one with 58 passengers on board and 4 flight attendants and 2 pilots. It was supposed to be going from Washington to Los Angeles. It hit the second tower at approximately 9 o'clock. Again, that plane was hijacked and flown into the second building. 9:40 this morning, a plane crashed into the Pentagon. That collapsed one portion of that 5-sided building. No reports on casualties from there yet. And then at 10:09, the South World Trade Tower collapsed. Again, it had been standing up till then, having withstood the initial attack. But at 10:09 this morning, it collapsed to the ground, and then just about 21 minutes later, the North Tower of the World Trade Center also collapsed. We have had no reports yet on how many casualties there were. We have the governor himself saying certainly in the hundreds, perhaps in the thousands.
Oh, perhaps. And certainly that is something we may not know for many days, is the number of casualties, the number of injured, as firefighters are still down on the scene. We want to go to, I believe, Marcus Solis right now.
I mean, in downtown area. Marcus, can you hear us, Marcus? He won't be able to, but we're just going to throw it to Marcus with the latest.
All right, well, Bill and Diana, we're here outside of Bellevue Hospital, the premier trauma center in New York City, where they are seeing a number of casualties. The number has been increasing throughout the morning, though it is probably a lot fewer people than they are even equipped to handle because the logistics of getting people here. As it stands now, about 125 people being treated for minor injuries. There are about 30 very serious injuries, including one serious brain injury. There have been 2 fatalities, included among them 1 firefighter, and there is a small child that is also being treated. Now, the hospital here has been gearing up, mobilizing throughout the day. Doctors from other hospitals have been arriving here. Nurses, even medical students from NYU Medical Center have been coming here, all to staff and man the hospital, get it ready. They are mobilized and they are just awaiting more people to come in. This is the only level 1 trauma center in the city, so it is expected that the number of people transported here will increase throughout the day. Now, we're going to move out of the way here. Some vehicles continue to move through. The hospital also, very important, has an urgent call out for people to donate blood. There are literally hundreds of people lined up near the entrance of the hospital. So far, response has been good, but they are urging anyone who is in the area and can donate blood to do so because they are in a critical need for blood. So again, the latest here right now, 125 minor injuries, 30 or so very serious ones, and 2 fatalities, including a fireman here at Bellevue Hospital. That's the latest from Bellevue. Marcus Solis, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you.
Thank you, Marcus. That is the first word that we have gotten of actual fatalities, casualties. He is at Bellevue Hospital. We also have Lauren Glassberg at St. Vincent's. So obviously, as more information on this comes in. Bill?
She reported 2 fatalities as well, I believe, Diana. So that's 4 I think we have. And obviously, as you stated earlier, we do not know what the total will be. Mr. Giuliani, Mayor Giuliani, suggested that it runs into the hundreds and maybe thousands, but we just do not know at this point. I wanted to say one other thing for Jim's timeline. All morning, we had been reporting, the State Department official had said that a car bomb had exploded in front of the State Department. By all indications, that has not happened, and we want to pass that on. On the phone with us right now is Robert Heibel. He is the director of the Research Intelligence Analyst Program at Mercyhurst College in Erie, Pennsylvania, and this is an intelligence specialist program, and he's an intelligence expert. Mr. Heibel, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right. We have heard so many conflicting reports today, and you heard Mr. Arafat condemn this. You saw some Palestinians in the West Bank applaud and cheer this. Who are we to believe? How do we know? There have been so many conflicting reports. What do you suspect here?
In any situation like this, what you've got to do is you've got to let time settle in here and sort things out. For example, the car bombing in State Department was reported. You had bombings in, I believe, reported in some schools up in New York. Things have to settle out here, and then we'll be able to assess what the real targets were, and then also certainly take a look at the casualties.
Okay.
As far as the response in the West Bank, I'm not surprised that thousands of Palestinians celebrated today because the United States is viewed as the closest friend of Israel and a supporter of Israel.
Mr. Heibel, give us an idea of what the process is, what intelligence officers are going to be doing in trying to determine who was involved in this.
People assigned to intelligence, whether it's national security, law enforcement, are going to be doing the same things that they have done traditionally. That is, researching, collecting, correlating, analyzing, and producing some type of product. The dilemma that you face against an organization like this is that it's not only a cellular structure, but it's a cellular structure composed of many times family members, people who are members of the same tribe.
And so because of this cellular structure...
It's like me asking you, me knowing what went on at your dinner on Sunday with your family.
Because of this cellular structure, Mr. Heibel, how in the world does the U.S. respond to this?
There's always the possibility of being able to develop sources. You never give up on developing human sources. There are so many motivations of mankind that you may come up with a human source. Another thing that may happen is that you may have a splintering in the organization that leads to people defecting from the organization. You will also have the possibility of people having a change of heart, though I think in this particular case with these extremists there's a slight chance of that.
And any significant...
But what you've got to do is you have to make sure that you collect your intelligence from all sources, and that even includes public domain information. So you've got to be pooling all the information that you're gathering together in order to put the pieces in a puzzle. If you think of intelligence as a puzzle, and that puzzle, you never have all the pieces to the puzzle, but at least you get a sense of what is going on, and then you can look at that puzzle and draw certain conclusions. And that's what intelligence is all about.
Absolutely. Any idea when we will know who is responsible for this? Because you've got a lot of pieces to this puzzle.
Well, you're probably going to have some claims to responsibility here, and it may even be a group that we've never heard of before. They take a pseudonym. But I think that this action has been so successful that I think that the United States government will have a pretty good sense of who's responsible for it in a relatively short period of time. They may not know who the perpetrators were.
Okay.
Obviously, well-organized assault.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Obviously, a well-organized assault, though. Any significance to this day or this time period? Why it would happen now?
I've asked, do we have an anniversary at this time? I know of no anniversary. That it's not like it's the anniversary of Waco in Oklahoma City. What you do have some events that are taking place right now. Of course, you have what's going on in Israel and on the West Bank. You have a couple trials that have just been completed in New York City.
And sentencing tomorrow.
Right, and you've got the embassy bombers who have already been convicted. They're going to be sentenced. Then you have the trial of the individual who convicted in conspiracy at Los Angeles International Airport.
Okay.
Right.
So
plus you have, you know, a legacy of acts that have related to New York City, going back to the World Trade Center bombing in February of '93. And also the tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, and associated acts in '95.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Heibel, for joining us. We appreciate all of that information.
I hope that's helped.
Absolutely. We want to go now to the studio here, and Chris Lance has joined us. He is a student at Stuyvesant High School. Chris, you were down in that area when this happened. Can you tell us what you saw?
Well, the first thing that happened was we had heard something sounded like a plane was flying very low overhead, and then we heard a thud, and we figured it could have been a near strike of lightning. We looked out the window, the skies were clear. So then some kids were saying that there was smoke coming from the World Trade Center. So what had apparently happened was a plane had, well, they told us by accident, flown into the World Trade Center. Then about 20 minutes later, we saw flames shoot out of the side, and we realized that the second strike, this couldn't have been an accident. And we saw eventually people, well, first debris falling, and then we saw debris that appeared to have khakis and waving their arms, so we realized that those were people.
Oh.
When you say Stuyvesant High School, give us an indication of where that is. How far from the World Trade Center is Stuyvesant High School?
I'm not sure exactly, but I'm thinking it's just a few blocks away. We had a very clear view of it, I'd say about 3 or 4 blocks.
And you felt the impact when you...
We felt the impact. It was like a very strong strike. It actually set off car alarms around in the neighborhood.
What was the reaction of your fellow students?
Well, first they started flocking to the window. We were in the I was in the library free period at that time, and people were flocking to the window basically to look at what had happened. We were told that this was an accident, someone was flying too low, and then by the second and third hit, well actually only the second time. Right. By the third hit we had been evacuated. They evacuated all of the students eventually because there was smoke.
What did your teachers say to you, Chris?
Well, first they said it was an accident, as I said, and then eventually they told us they realized it was a terrorist attack and that it was going on in Washington as well. We were told to stay in the building because of debris falling and chaos going on in the area, but then eventually the police and firefighters came and they told us to evacuate the building to the northern entrance.
Chris, most of us in this newsroom are a bit older than you. We remember days such as the Challenger explosion. We remember the World Trade Center bombing in '93. I imagine this is a day you are going to remember for the rest of your life.
Most likely.
What do you feel, Chris? Your country has been attacked by somebody.
I'm thinking this makes me glad we have a Republican in office. Most likely to go to war, and he can profit from missiles, you know?
And you think this is the answer? To retaliate? Is that what you're suggesting?
Most likely we retaliated after Pearl Harbor, a surprise attack on us, and most likely I think that they're going to retaliate for this.
Okay. Have you talked to your parents? Do they know you're okay?
Yes. My mom's in the studio right now.
Okay, good.
Oh, good.
All right.
Good.
Chris Lance, a student at Stuyvesant High who was a witness to at least the second attack and heard the first one. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
We have a series of sound that our reporters in the field who have been out all day since this happened shortly before 9 o'clock in the morning have put together. We want to throw to that package right now.
Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the Corporation Counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hess. I said, this is it. We're dead. We're not going to make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. That's when this gentleman here heard my cries for help. This gentleman right here, and he kept saying, stand by, somebody's coming to get you. They couldn't get to us for an hour because they couldn't find us.
It's pandemonium. I mean, it was something like out of a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. He was there and he was crying, and there was another gentleman crying, and for help. We couldn't get to him. We tried to get through we went through the buildings. We were lost. Both staircases, the backside was completely blown away. There was no way to access us. We couldn't get to him. And finally, one of the fire department teams found him.
Back live now. That was some of the sound of people who witnessed this attack starting shortly before 9 this morning.
9 o'clock this morning. I want to point out, Bill, we have a number of employees. All TV stations have employees who work at the top of the twin trade towers. And Jim, you know about this as well, that there are workers there, and all of us at the ABC family, and I'm sure at our other stations, WNBC and WCBS, are very concerned about those people who work in those buildings.
All of those people, all of those stations you mentioned, they all have people who work on top of that building. You know, all we see is that tall tower up there, that tall needle that sticks up there. But what that holds is the lifeline for all of us to get on the air, and people have to man that. And anybody, obviously, anybody in the city, anybody in the country who knows anybody who works down in Lower Manhattan is concerned about them right now. And that certainly applies to all of us as well.
Absolutely. And we were certainly concerned earlier about our reporters out in the field down there. We were all thrilled when we actually got to see Joe Torres come on the air.
His wife called us scared because I had said we have not heard from Joe Torres, and there are a lot of people. The cell phone situation is out, and so that makes it very, very difficult.
Okay, we want to go now to Jim Hoffer, who is down in that area. Jim, hopefully you can hear us. If not, we understand. Jim, are you there?
He'll just take it.
Well, we can tell you we are right now positioned just north of Canal Street. Anything south of that has been closed here to the public and, of course, to the media. The big concern is that there could be more explosions, more gas explosions. About an hour ago, we were below Canal Street, and we witnessed this firsthand. Police frantically trying to evacuate people kind of in a panic, starting to run north to get in front of Canal Street because there was this fear of a gas explosion, although we did not smell any gas in the area. Also, several command centers have been set up in this area alone. There must be numerous command centers, but there's one just a few blocks here, and then there's one right down there. You can't see it, but just south of those satellite trucks. We have seen buses, literally dozens of buses filled with police officers heading down to the south of Canal, probably to the site of the collapsed towers. Also, we have heard no word of casualties out here from anybody, but you can only at the height of the morning, around 9 o'clock, that those towers could have been filled with people, thousands per. We have spoken to eyewitnesses who have said that they came out of the towers and they've seen a lot of buildings that were hit by debris, many buildings that were heavily damaged, including the Marriott Hotel. We should also tell you, as we spoke to one eyewitness, he said that what has happened here is to him as serious and has history-making as the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And of course, the measure of what has been done here will come out in the days and the weeks and the months to follow. Live in Lower Manhattan, back to you.
Thank you very much,
Months
Jim.
to follow is the operative word there.
We want to check in with Sam Champion right now, who's at the Weather Board. And the question that we have at this point is, obviously, Sam, you can see all this smoke down here, and we talked earlier with Jeff Rawson about the wind in that area. Tell us a little bit about that, Sam.
For a good part of the day today, the entire, and actually you can throw the weather computer up because those are the current stats that are behind me. Yeah, the wind for a good part of the morning has been north-northwest at about 7 to 9 miles per hour. So what you're seeing above the buildings, the plume of smoke doesn't seem to be moving that much. But remember, we're different in the city between the buildings than any other wind condition you know of, and that's the canyon effect, where the winds get trapped between the buildings and swirl everything around. So it'll actually pick up the wind speed a bit between those buildings, and it'll blow debris around in kind of a circular pattern. The smoke is going to be slow to dissipate because we don't have a strong wind blowing it away from the top levels there, so you can just see it kind of hanging and billowing. But down below, where the workers are or where the people are, it's going to be difficult blowing conditions there, and a little bit even more difficult to clear that smoke around from between those canyons. The good news is for rescue and trying to find folks this afternoon, tonight, and even tomorrow, and even the cleanup of that is we're expecting these guys to stay clear, to stay dry, and for these conditions, the wind conditions, not to really build up. So the winds that you see now, the wind speeds, those light winds of about 6-7 miles per hour are expected to stay exactly the way they are for at least tonight and through the good part of the day tomorrow. I think the next weather change we see is Thursday. But you can imagine how slow moving that smoke is at the top of the buildings, but it's a little different situation down in between them where you don't really know the direction of the wind because it's whipping around the buildings there.
Soot coming up, Sam, this could take a long time. Obviously, it's going to take a month to clean it up.
It's going to take a long time to clear because we don't have any big gust that's going to blow that away. I mean, you've noticed all morning long you haven't seen a good clear picture of the building itself because that smoke is just still staying around it, and that's likely to be the case for the rest of the afternoon.
Of course, at least one of those buildings is still on fire. We have an interview that one of our reporters gathered with a passenger, a would-be passenger, who was supposed to take that ill-fated flight from Newark to San Francisco, a Boeing 747 United flight that took off this morning from Newark and crashed in western Pennsylvania. Let's roll that tape, please.
The United flight just before me was the one that had been hijacked and was involved. So I'm wondering whether many of my friends who know that I was flying off to San Francisco this morning are still wondering whether I'm around.
Okay, this is some of the security patrol at Newark Airport. The terminals have been evacuated. Of course, all flights have been canceled in and out of Newark Airport, but you see the security with dogs patrolling just in case there have been.
Jim, those are bomb-sniffing dogs, I'm assuming here. Jim, for a second, talk about, you know, we had these two jets involved in this. Obviously, they are going through the passenger manifest right now. What is the process that the airlines are going through?
The airlines and the airports all have their own security details, and all of those people are trained to work on operations just like this, to find out who's on board what plane, to find out, to make sure that all of the planes that are on the ground still are safe. So although you saw a few of those dogs, those and other trained professionals with equipment will be going over every plane at all of the area airports. They'll be going through the luggage. They will certainly suspend curbside drop-off for the next several weeks at least. All of those things are changing immediately. They all have their own operations, their own security operations, but the NYPD and the New York Fire Department are also trained to help out in situations like that. But obviously those agencies are busy in other places right now.
Obviously, and we're joined in the studio right now by Charles Jennings, who is with John Jay College, and he is an expert on emergency response. And Mr. Jennings, as you look at these pictures, give us an idea of the response that is going on right now.
Obviously, this is a response of a magnitude that is greater, much greater than anything that's ever been seen here in New York, at least in modern history. The simultaneity and the scope of the events are going to put a stress on the entire nation's emergency management infrastructure. I don't think they're still going to be able to cope with it. But this is clearly above and beyond what had previously been any worst case scenario for a terrorist action.
How in the world is the city even responding? Its emergency bunker, is the word been used. It was on the 23rd floor of Tower Number 2. That exists no longer. How is the city coordinating its emergency procedure?
Well, the police and fire departments here in New York are the largest in the country, and they have a very, very good infrastructure for dealing with emergencies. They deal with emergencies at a smaller scale, obviously, day in, day out. On my way over to the studio, I walked past one of the fire stations. It was overflowing with firefighters from off-duty who had already come in. There are backup resources. There are personnel from all over the city who are coming in. I know the city is utilizing resources from the suburbs in terms of the fire department. That's highly unprecedented. I don't know that it's certainly not in my lifetime that that's happened. And so they manage. This is how they deal with it. I certainly know that this has been a disruption to their normal chain of command. I still don't know, and I'm very concerned about the status of responders who may have been trapped or killed in this collapse.
We're just seeing Tower Number 1 come down, the second tower that collapsed, the northern tower. Many of those many firefighters were already up in that tower trying to evacuate and rescue people. And
absolutely. I mean, I was watching that, and obviously my first thoughts, like everyone else's, is that, okay, this is the worst case scenario has been realized. And then I found it was a commercial jetliner. And immediately my thoughts turned to the residents or the workers trapped in that building. And emptying out one of the twin towers under normal circumstances takes a considerable amount of time. And judging from the fire and the immediate extension of the explosion, blast damage, it is highly likely that the stairwells were compromised and the sprinklers were compromised, and that the people above were placed in immediate dire straits.
Right. We are still waiting to hear from Mayor Giuliani, and we are hoping that there will be a news conference shortly. We believe that there will be one. Any idea what the mayor and his team are doing at this point? It has been a crazy day for them so far, I'm sure.
Well, in a disaster of this consequence, or this magnitude, They've already reached out to higher levels of resources. I'm sure federal resources are being deployed into the city, the urban search and rescue. The immediate is to put out the fires.
Do you suspect that the National Guard is going to be called in?
I would say that that's a good likelihood.
We know it's been mobilized in Westchester County. We had our Howard Price on the phone earlier. It was interesting to see to me, just for me to see, Mr. Jennings, that earlier we showed Jeff Rawson trying to interview Mayor Giuliani, and along with him was Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik, and the mayor striding as he does right to City Hall, and you could hear Commissioner Kerik say, "No, we're not going to City Hall. You cannot go to City Hall." We like to think that we are all well prepared for this, but in fact, everyone is flying by the seat of their pants, aren't they?
Well, I think I wouldn't go that far. They know what's going on.
Well,
this is above and beyond the normal scale of the emergency. But to say, I wouldn't say they're not flying by the seat of their pants.
But when you have the police commissioner telling the mayor, "You cannot go to City Hall," Rudy, you can't go to City Hall.
That's the police commissioner's job, to tell the mayor, an elected official in a time like this, that for security reasons, that this is not a normal event. You can't just go back. You can't stand out and watch. We're off the charts. We're into uncharted territory within the United States.
And in fact, we understand that the mayor has been taken to an undisclosed location for his safety. That is part of procedure?
In something like this, yes. Normally, obviously, we don't anticipate this kind of a realized threat, but it would not be customary to leave them exposed.
Similarly, the President of the United States not returning to Washington, but going to an Air Force base in Louisiana. Talk to me a little bit about the psychology of the rescue workers. This is not just logistics. They are also too affected as human beings by the enormity of this tragedy.
Well, absolutely. I mean, myself, you know, I know a large number of people in the fire police community. I know people in the city's emergency management office, and of course I'm concerned about their whereabouts. These are all people who are falling back now on their instincts, their heroism, whatever you want to call it. This is their training, years of training now, and they're going to work through and they're going to deal with this event. The duration of this is going to be such that I think they're going to be cycling a lot of personnel in and out, and possibly outside personnel.
Okay, Mr. Jennings, I'm wondering, it is so hard for us.
Condoleezza Rice is the only senior official remaining at the White House, and she will remain at the White House to try to coordinate efforts from there. Mrs. Bush has also been...
Absolutely.
To be set aside right now, and people, at least in the Capitol in the short run, focusing on national defense and security.
Tony, I think you're going to see the country coming together, the political leaders in both parties coming together like we haven't seen in a long time. One thing America does in a time of crisis is to stand together, to work together, to look for solutions to these very serious problems. I think you're going to see a lot less bickering and trying to unite to find out who caused this and take every action humanly possible to see to it that it never happens again.
Senator, if you could stand by. We're joined on the phone now by Sandy Berger, who was the National Security Advisor from...
Cannot travel by air. Now, we have heard that DFW is shut down. There is no indication at this point when operations will resume. There is obviously a heightened sense of security. We have seen dozens of uniformed officers patrolling with sniffing dogs, and basically it's...
That's the situation, but one of the first things they can try to do is try to get a sense of who was on the plane, try to begin to check out aliases, and that might lead them in some investigative direction, but they're very limited in the early stages in terms of what they can do.
Exactly, many thanks. And as you and John Miller have reminded us several times today, we're covering a tragedy, and we are covering...
Right, to characterize the situation as he sees it.
Some hours, some days, potentially even some weeks.
They will suffer the full measure of our justice. This is obviously an act of war that's been committed on the United States of America.
The view of the Statue of Liberty when this all happened, can you take us back to that moment?
I was on the phone with my mom. We were on break. It was like 8:45 in the morning. We were on break, and all of a sudden, I was just telling my mom how jealous she should be because I'm looking at the Statue of Liberty, and all this paper. It was just paper on fire, like falling on the side of the window in a big cloud of smoke. And then I said, I think something exploded. I think there's a plane crash. And like my mom's like, don't be ridiculous. And
were you in the tower that the plane actually hit, or were you in another tower?
I haven't seen the TV yet, so I don't really know which one it hit. So they told us to come back into the conference room and stay calm. And then as one of our managers was telling us to stay calm, somebody came through and said it was time, you know, get out, and then we're on the 61st floor, and we walked down. There's express elevators, but we just had to walk the whole floor down, and then we were about the 22nd floor, and then all of a sudden, it just, I mean, everything shook. I mean, all shaking, like holding on, and just, it was ridiculous. And then there's a lady beside me just praying and holding my hand, and, you know, and I said, and this, everybody was calm. Everybody just like, we're going to get out of this alive. We haven't lost anybody. We're going to get out. And they called out the numbers as we went down, 22, 21, 20, 19, and then we were out.
And when you came out, what was the time frame from when one of the towers actually imploded?
I mean, we walked out at 8:45, and then next time I looked at my clock, because my phone was out of service, and that's my only watch, it was probably 10:30, but...
Did you see it go down?
Well, no, we were sitting. There's like a big waterfall out front, and we were on the other side of it, and I was helping this older lady get together and gather her things. She needed some water, and there was like a blimpie right there, and I went in, they gave me some water, and all of a sudden, people just started running, and the whole street filled up with black smoke, and then we ran, and we're here. And
Ryan, you wanted to tell your mother that you're doing okay. You can just...
Yeah, Mom, Dad, I love you. I'm happy. I'm okay.
You're
feel
okay.
like a nerd.
You're okay. You're not a nerd. All right. We're glad that you're okay. Thank you for sharing time with us. All right. We just want to get you up to date on what's going on. Actually, the commute. A lot of people are trying to get out of the city. So, Marvin, this is the very latest from what we're hearing. Route 80 eastbound is closed. Route 3 near Giant Stadium is also temporarily closed. The LIRR coming into and out of Penn Station, temporarily no service, subway service into and out of Manhattan, also temporarily suspended. We were talking about the few buses that we have been seeing here on 2nd Avenue picking up people, and as you can see, there's a couple of buses that are passing by us right now. They are picking up people, very few people, but it's limited service, just going uptown and going downtown. What they are urging you to do is to take the waterways if you can. Take the ferry, take the fast ferries if you can get near there. The New Jersey Turnpike, it's very light traffic. And also, a lot of people are asking me, are the bridges open? Can I walk over the Brooklyn Bridge? Can I walk over the 59th Street Bridge? All morning we've been telling you that the area bridges and tunnels are closed. Now we're even telling you that it's closed to pedestrian traffic. So that's really the very latest on this community. It's people trying to come to grips with what's going on here today and try to get home safely. So we'll keep you up to date out here on the street. Back to you, Jackie and Marvin.
Tanya,
Thank
no
you,
matter
Tanya.
how many times you look at those pictures,
I'm
it's
seeing
almost
some of
hard
these
to-
for the first time because I had an odyssey trying to get in here today from New Jersey, and seeing them, it just sickens you to your inside. You feel an emptiness, and there aren't words that can correctly describe it. I know looking at it just now, it looked like something, I wanted to say it was special effects from some Hollywood extravaganza, but unfortunately this is all too real. And those twin towers going down this morning, and 2 airliners crashing into them, and people throughout the morning, we've heard the words over and over again, oh my God, just total disbelief.
And there, you're looking at the pictures there again, Marvin.
It's in this is in
Now,
slow
this is
motion.
before the other tower was attacked, so if you keep watching. There's
Okay,
the plane.
let's go. We understand the mayor and police commissioner are about to speak. Let's go to them right now.
Good afternoon. Today is obviously one of the most difficult days in the history of the city and the country. The tragedy that we're all undergoing right now is something that we've had nightmares about, but probably thought wouldn't happen. My heart goes out to all of the innocent victims of this horrible and vicious act of terrorism, acts of terrorism. And our focus now has to be on saving as many lives as possible. We have hundreds of police officers and firefighters who are engaging in rescue efforts in Lower Manhattan. I want to thank Governor Patagi for the incredible cooperation and coordination, and including deploying the National Guard that will be available to relieve our police officers and firefighters and emergency workers in the next couple of hours. The governor and I just spoke to the President of the United States. The coordination with the federal government from the time of the first attack has been excellent, including closing off the airspace around Manhattan and doing everything that can possibly be done in the face of this barbaric act to make the city secure. And we will strive now very hard to save as many people as possible. and to send a message that the city of New York and the United States of America is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists, that our democracy, that our rule of law, that our strength and our willingness to defend ourselves will ultimately prevail. And I'd ask the people of New York City to do everything that they can to cooperate, not to be frightened, to go about their lives as normal. Everything is safe right now in the city, and the people who are doing the relief effort need all the help they can get. And then, Governor, thank you very much for your assistance and your help and your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership through this crisis. This is a vicious attack upon New York. It's an attack upon America. It's an attack upon the whole concept of freedom and our way of life. And we cannot let these attacks succeed. First step has to be to make sure we do everything in our power to protect the people and to save the lives of those whose lives are still at risk, and to help those who have been injured. And I want to commend the mayor, and I want to thank my colleagues from Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the federal government have all offered and made ready support to help us deal with this ongoing crisis. The people of New York are not only the freest and most diverse people in the world, we're also, I believe, the most capable of rising to meet the challenges of this type of attack. And right now, we want New Yorkers to remain calm, to go about their business, to appreciate the fact that everything to provide for their safety is being done, to appreciate that everything that can be done to provide for the health and the needs of the people who are still at risk is being done, and that we will continue to work to make sure that we get through this as strongly and quickly as possible. I want to thank the federal administration. Secretary Thompson has been on the phone with me a number of times, as well as the President, for what they are offering and prepared to do. And we're just confident that, well, this is a horrible attack, and one that is despicable and really unthinkable in its magnitude. We will get through this, and we will continue to have a great and free country, state, and society.
Do we know the number of casualties at this point, sir?
I don't think we really want to speculate about that. The number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear ultimately. And I don't think we want to speculate on the number of casualties. The effort now has to be to save as many people as possible. And I don't think we will know the answer to that until sometime tomorrow or the next day.
Were there large numbers of firefighters?
There are a large number of firefighters and police officers who are in harm's way. And we don't know how many we've lost. But there's no doubt we've lost some firefighters and police officers.
Do you know anything about the cause of the explosions that brought the two buildings down yet? Was it caused by the planes or by something else?
We believe that it was caused by the after effects of the planes hitting the buildings. We don't know of an additional explosion after that.
Could you tell us, do you expect any further attacks on New York? Maybe indicate that there could be more bombs, more planes out there. I know originally there was a report that 8 planes had been hijacked, 4 have only been accounted for. What about the remaining 4? And is there any possibility that there could be bombs on the ground planted by...
We have no specific information to that effect. Obviously, the city is now closed. The airspace around the city is closed. And we are on heightened alert. But we have no specific information suggesting any further attack.
Can you tell us where the planes came from?
I think to give the people of New York confidence, to show that the federal government is standing with us, and to just to make certain that nothing further happens. This has been a very, very difficult and traumatic day for the people of the United States and the people of the city. And I think that it's an act that shows that the federal government is going to do everything they can to support us and help us.
Can you give us an idea of the extent of the rescue effort that's going on right now in Lower Manhattan? What's the scope of this operation?
There are over 1,000 rescue workers, probably about 2,000 that are deployed, trying to get into the buildings, trying to find people, trying to search for people. The governor and I spoke a couple of hours ago, and the governor has deployed the National Guard to relieve them because our people are going to need reinforcements pretty soon. But right now they don't want to leave because they're searching for innocent citizens, and they're searching for some of their brothers and sisters.
Are you finding survivors?
Yes, we have some numbers that we can give you. We have 1,500 people at Liberty State Park who were evacuated, described as walking wounded. They were evacuated by ferry and other means. There are about 600, as of about 15 minutes ago, in local hospitals that we account for, 600 people that are being treated in local hospitals. And there are 150 in particular that were critical, that were moved by EMS. New York City has 170 hospitals. So we have a lot of hospitals, and we're utilizing all of them. Probably the one that was the hardest hit was St. Vincent's Hospital. And I would like to just single them out and commend them, because as I was rushing down there, after the first plane hit, and before the second, they were already deploying people on the street. I could see the doctors and nurses outside getting ready to receive people. And that was before the second plane actually hit the World Trade Center.
What was your experience down there?
Also blood donations. We have several sites for blood donations. 153 East 53rd Street, 66 in Amsterdam, which is the Red Cross, and 310 East 67th Street. If people want to do something and they can donate blood, that's going to help not just today, but tomorrow and the next day. This relief effort is going to take some time.
Mr. Mayor, you were one of the first people down there. Can you describe the scene in your own words, what you saw down there?
I don't know that I'm really able to describe it. It was the most horrific scene I've ever seen in my whole life. We saw the World Trade Center in flames, a big gaping hole all the way on the top of it. We could see people jumping from the top of the building. And then we went into Barclay Street, 75 Barclay Street, I think it was, and we were there when the building collapsed, and it collapsed in part on 75 Barclay Street. So we were trapped in the building for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, trying to get out different exits. And we finally went through a basement and came out 100 Park Place.
Did you ever fear for your own safety, sir?
Sure, yeah.
What went through your mind?
I don't think anything went through my mind other than making sure that we all remained calm and found an exit and just tried to figure out the most intelligent thing to do. Probably the same thing that went through the minds of 10,000 other New Yorkers who I could see on the streets, and I really have to commend them. If you really want to know what New Yorkers are all about, you just watch the way in which they handle themselves. They didn't panic. They moved deliberately. They moved swiftly. But they didn't hurt each other. They helped each other. I mean, these are just the most wonderful people in the world.
Do we know anything about the composition of that dust that blankets Lower Manhattan? Is there any asbestos or any hazardous material in that dust?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Mr. Mayor, I got reports of gas explosion related to this. Is there anything aware of that? There was a gas leak or possible...
We don't believe it. We don't believe that's the case.
Mr. Mayor, can you tell us anything about where the planes come from, where the aircraft came from?
Bill Diamond reminds me that we've turned off the gas in the city building, just to be safe.
Can you tell us
as a precaution?
about where these aircraft came from? There was a report that may have been hijacked in Boston.
I think we should leave that up to the federal government to yes, we do have some information, but I think we should leave that up to the federal government to release that information. Our focus is on the relief efforts. And
What about Governor, do you think there should be any retaliation on the part of the United States for what happened here in this country, both in New York, Washington, and other places?
First step right now, Marcia, is to make sure we do everything to help those people who need our support, and whether they're injured or still trapped in buildings. The second thing is to make sure at the same time we're providing the maximum security against possible additional incidents. But clearly, this is an attack upon America. It's an attack upon our freedom and our way of life, and we must retaliate and go after those who perpetuated this heinous crime against the people of America.
Mayor, this has been compared to Pearl Harbor. Do you consider this to be an act of war? This has been compared.
I'll do both.
This has been compared to Pearl Harbor. Do you consider this to
this
be
is
an act of war?
this is a vicious, unprovoked, horrible attack on innocent men, women, and children. It's one of the most heinous acts, certainly in world history. And as the governor said, and I said to the president, we fully and completely support him in any action that he has to take in order to make an example out of the people who are responsible for this.
Is it an act of war in your mind?
I don't know that I want to use those words. I think the president is the one that has to respond, and I think what he has to know is that all of us in New York support him, and support him completely in the efforts that he's going to have to make over the next couple of days, week, and to make a point that that people can't do this. You can't attack innocent men, women, and children. And ultimately, I'm totally confident that American democracy and the American rule of law will prevail. And the people of New York are going to help to demonstrate that over the next couple of days.
How many anybody take responsibility for this? Any group take responsibility at this time? And what is the city doing to safeguard the citizens now that something like this happens?
Well, first of all, I don't know of anyone that's taken responsibility for it at this time. And secondly, the New York City Police Department is fully deployed, not just in the rescue effort, but all throughout the city of New York, offering as much protection and as much security as we're capable of for the citizens of the city. And at this point, I believe that the people in New York City can demonstrate our resolve and our support for all of the people that were viciously attacked today by going about their lives and showing everyone that vicious, cowardly terrorists can't stop us from being a free country and a place that functions. And we'll do everything we can to make that point.
Jennifer, sign out, please.
Just a housekeeping thing. Can you tell us what's going to happen to the New York primary?
This morning, I issued an order suspending the primary across the state. There will be no primary today, and we'll reschedule it once we get through this.
Jennifer,
Can
please.
you walk us through the municipal services right now? What's going on with the subways and schools, the courts?
The subway, the schools, the chancellor, I commend the chancellor. He was on the phone a number of times with us. He coordinated very, very carefully what would happen. He thought it out, and he came up with a very good plan, which was essentially to keep the schools open, to keep the children in school, so we didn't have a large number of children in the different boroughs that would be released from school. They're being released, I shouldn't say as normal, but basically on the normal schedule. If parents aren't there to pick up the young children, then the children will be taken to a center, and the parents will be notified to come and pick them up. The children who have Metro cards, who normally travel on the subway, will be able to do that. The subways are functioning in 4 of the 5 boroughs, and can we get an update, Joe, on how the subway's doing in Manhattan?
All the lettered lines are working.
And in Manhattan?
In Manhattan lines, all the lettered lines.
All the lettered lines are working, including in Manhattan. And throughout the rest of the city, public transportation is normal. So the children should be able to return from school in the normal fashion. And if any children don't have parents to pick them up, then we'll hold them, let the parents know, and then the parents can come and pick them up.
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned you were on Barclay Street. What's the radius of damage that's been affected? How many other side streets around the world?
I don't think we know yet. The whole area of Lower Manhattan has been very much affected by it.
How many police and fire are involved? How many police and fire are involved? Like how many, all NYPD officers have they come in, or like?
All NYPD and FDNY officers are on duty now. And we're going to need all of them, and again, thanks to the governor and the way in which the state reacted, we will have 1,600 National Guard to relieve them over a period of time, so we can get some relief for them.
Is anybody looking for someone that may have been in the World Trade Center or in and around that area? What should they do? How can they do it?
We're going to give you numbers so that we can try to help coordinate that. Individual businesses have already done that, but we will as soon as we can find some time from the relief efforts, give you a number in which people can call, and then we can direct them to the right place.
The National Guard will always be or anything like that? Any lawlessness?
There have been no reports of lawlessness, no reports of looting. As I said, we saw a lot of people that were part of the escape effort, and they seem to be conducting themselves in a very, very sensible way, a very deliberate way. They seem to be helping each other. So I don't think we have any reports like that at all.
So the only National Guard we'll see will be in Lower Manhattan in the bomb site area. They won't be patrolling the rest of Manhattan.
No, the purpose of it is to help with the relief effort. We're gonna need the help of the state, surrounding areas with heavy-duty equipment.
When will they be arriving?
National Guard troops, some have arrived already, and we expect to have up to close to 2,000 between the National Guard and the state police by later this evening.
Mayor, bridges and tunnels will have to stay closed.
I think everything is closed for now, and then maybe in about an hour or two we can give you an update on what the plan will be for tomorrow.
We saw a lot of lightly injured people walking out of the area because obviously the emergency services were needed for the very seriously injured. People come with some people had difficulty breathing. Is there any health advice to give to people who were caught in this thing, who are not necessarily at risk of losing their life, but
I think obviously if you feel ill or you feel that you've been affected by it, you should go to a hospital and get checked out. But if it's just discomfort that you feel, then you can do basically what we did, was to wash our faces off and get rid of the clothes and get to an area where you can breathe in fresh air.
How many people were in the World Trade Center at the time of this attack?
I mean, it was, business had already started. It was right before 9 o'clock. I don't know.
Tens of thousands?
Yes. Approximately. Someone just gave me a number of approximately 10,000, but that's, that's a guess.
How long will the city remain on a heightened state of alert?
Until we're told not to. I mean, until the FBI and the police department and the federal government tells us that we shouldn't. Right now, the city is should be on a state of alert. Now, instead of frightening people, that should make people feel more confident that everything is being done to keep things secure. And again, let me emphasize that the reason for the National Guard, because I heard the question before, is to help with the relief effort, not because there's any fear of any other problems in the city right now.
How is the Port Authority talking about
the other public areas, City Hall, One Police Plaza, when will it be safe for you to return?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet. Hopefully soon, but I don't know the answer to that.
And we heard reports that One Police Plaza was evacuated. Was that true?
No, the command center is open.
And it was
We have people in the command center right now.
It never was
There
evacuated.
have also been reports of large loss of life among the police and firemen who were sent there to rescue people. How active are those reports?
There is no question that we lost police officers and firefighters, and some that I know personally, and all of us here know personally, that we're very worried about. And we're not going to know the answer to that until much later. And maybe we should just close now and give you a briefing later. And I would just ask everyone, I talked to Cardinal Egan before, because he's at St. Vincent's Hospital. Everybody should, in their own way, say a prayer and ask God for help and for assistance, and also ask God to give us the strength to overcome this, because I know we're going to need strength to overcome it. And I want the people of New York to be an example to the rest of the country and the rest of the world that terrorism can't stop us. American democracy is much stronger than vicious, cowardly terrorists, and we're going to overcome this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well done, man. Well done.
Do you know when the next briefing will be?
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half?
Yeah, probably.
All right, that was Mayor Giuliani speaking for the first time
Along-
live, along with Governor Pataki, Police Commissioner Bernard Carrick, and Fire
Tom Van
Commissioner
Essen.
Tom Van Essen.
And as he said, this is a nightmare we thought never would happen, and for the first time we've heard about casualties, no numbers attached to that, but Mayor Giuliani did say, and here we quote, "The number of casualties will be more than we can bear ultimately." And he said a large number of fire and policemen, police officers were in harm's way and among the casualties today. He also said that the city is closed. Airspace is closed, city on a heightened alert, all to show New Yorkers confidence that we are in control of the situation. He also appealed for calm and for prayers, and also he said that New York would stand strong to prove that we will not be impacted and stopped by terrorist acts.
Marvin, he did give some sketchy numbers about some of the wounded. He had about 1,500 people
Right.
at Liberty State Park. He described them as the walking wounded, also about 600 in local hospitals. And he also let New Yorkers know there's about 170 hospitals in New York City. So he says that we can take care of this catastrophe. Also about 150 people, critical people, have been moved by EMS. And he also mentioned that some of the wounded and possibly those who did not make it are police and firefighters who were in and around the building trying to rescue others when they themselves became victims of this terrible, terrible tragedy. Also, he did say that subways are functioning again.
Yes,
all
he
the
said in
letter
all
lines
five boroughs, all the letter lines are running again.
and public transportation. There also, the schools commissioner is keeping kids in school, and he said that they will be released at about the regular time. Isn't that what he said? About
That's
regular
right,
time?
right.
And parents should come, school chancellor said that parents should come and pick up their children. If they are not picked up by their parents, then they will be kept over in a center until the parents can come and get them. Of course, children who have Metro cards and get home by themselves are being allowed to leave by
He
themselves.
also said that the mayor and the governor have both spoken with President Bush, who has pledged all his support at this time. And he said it's very important to send a message that New York and the United States is much stronger than any group of barbaric terrorists. There is an urgent need for blood. We have a number for you. We can put that up on the screen right now. Blood is desperately needed in New York. Please call this number, 1-800-933-2566. 150 people, according to Mayor Giuliani, are critically injured. That's the number known at the moment. 600 others at local hospitals and 1,500 described by the mayor as the walking wounded down at Liberty State Park. He said right now the focus that we should be paying is on saving as many lives as possible.
He is also urging New Yorkers to be calm at this time. I know it's very difficult when you see what's going on around you, but he is urging New Yorkers to try and stay calm and not to panic. It'll only make the situation a lot more difficult.
And he also said that gas has been shut off and city buildings weren't clear if they were city government buildings or all buildings throughout the city until this crisis is over, a crisis he called a vicious, unprovoked attack on innocent men and women, the most heinous attack in world history, and that it is indeed. I believe Melinda Murphy, are we ready to go back to Melinda up in Air 11? Melinda, you're still the only news helicopter aloft right now, and you've been with us doing a yeoman's job for the past several hours, keeping us abreast of
You're looking at live pictures of Lower Manhattan, where the World Trade Centers once stood, now replaced by a large plume of smoke, which goes, I would say, probably 5,000 or 6,000 feet into the air at this point. As you can see, the smoke has now become white, which is a good sign. That means that more smoke is, white smoke is steam, and that means water getting onto the fire. However, there is still a lot of dark smoke in there, and that, of course, means that things are still burning on the ground here. The smoke is now going more up into the air instead of out over the areas, but it's still a very good idea to keep your windows closed at this point, because this smoke is very noxious. You're not sure exactly what's in that smoke. Of course, there's some jet fuel in there as well as other things, so it's definitely a good idea to keep your windows closed. What you can see is that there is still a lot of...
That plume of smoke is billowing still to this hour. The dark smoke indicates fire is still burning, and it's rising as high as 4,000 feet, we understand. You can see it from everywhere in the tri-state area, and wherever you look at it and you see it, it just sickens you to the stomach.
Days, maybe weeks before things calm down there.
Okay.
We're going to go to Sonia Diener now. She's live in Washington with an update possibly on President Bush and what he has planned. Sonia?
Hi, good afternoon. We are still waiting to see when President Bush will be heading back here to Washington, D.C. We understand that the President, the First Lady, the Vice President, and members of Congress are at secure but undisclosed locations. We don't know where, and we don't know when he's coming back. Now, about 2 hours ago, President Bush spoke from Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana, and here's a little bit of what he said.
Make no mistake, the United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
President Bush also saying that the U.S. is taking all appropriate security precautions to protect the American people. He also said the U.S. military is on high alert. Let's show you the Pentagon now. About 10 o'clock Eastern time this morning, a apparently hijacked commercial airplane crashed into the Pentagon, into a section of the Pentagon that has a helipad area on top. There was a fire, there were some secondary explosions, then part of the building collapsed. Some 24,000 employees from the Pentagon were evacuated. We understand that at least 50 people were injured in that explosion and fire. No official word yet on fatalities. And we understand that those fires are still burning. We do have a live picture to show you of the Pentagon now. Fire still burning, but not as severe. And you can really get a feel for the extent of the damage there. A Pentagon spokesperson said that many people felt a thud when this plane crashed into the building, and that's really saying something because the Pentagon is huge. Other witnesses saying there was screaming and pandemonium and that the whole building shook. We also understand that Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld is still at the Pentagon. He is in the National Military Command Center, a secure location. Here in Washington, it is a virtual ghost town here. Most people have cleared out. The White House has been evacuated, Treasury Department, State Department, Justice Department, the U.S. Capitol, and the Supreme Court building. Really, all federal buildings have been evacuated. And real quickly, we have a new piece of news about that apparently hijacked plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. A Virginia congressman, Jim Moran, Virginia, says that that plane was apparently headed for the presidential retreat at Camp David. And Congressman Moran says he got his information at a Marine Corps briefing earlier today. Again, Moran says that that hijacked plane that went down in Somerset, Pennsylvania and western Pennsylvania apparently was meant to crash at Camp David in the mountains of Maryland. So that is the latest on that crash, and that's the latest situation here in Washington. Again, still waiting to see when President Bush will be returning to the White House. Back to you.
Such a horror. Sonia, I know most of the town is evacuated, but any word from anyone you've spoken to about how we were so vulnerable? There only weeks ago, there had been words that Osama bin Laden had been planning some massive attack against the United States. Any
well, members of Congress, some members of Congress have been speaking out, saying our defenses were down, we were vulnerable, we were just lulled into a false sense of security. Some of those members of Congress saying that we just got no advance warning. And the rhetoric is getting very intense. Some congressmen saying we are at war. Others calling this a second Pearl Harbor. Senator Hatch of Utah said we're going to get the bastards who did this. But no one has claimed, or the FBI says it has received no official claim of responsibility. So we still don't know who did this.
Okay, Sonia, thank you very much. Still too early to get the definitive word on that. Many groups, many terrorist groups linked to terrorists have claimed responsibility, including the Islamic Jihad, groups linked to Osama bin Laden, and the Front for Palestine as well.
That's right. And Marvin, right now we're going to go live to Glenn Thompson. He's at Bellevue Hospital where some casualties are being taken. Glenn, what can you tell us at this hour?
Well, Jackie, at this point, all of the hospital's 700 to 800 physicians have been called in here to handle this emergency. We're told the most severe traumas are being brought here. At this point, there are 20 major injuries, 120 patients have minor injuries, most of those smoke inhalation, and there are 2 DOAs. Now, Linda Minervin works downtown in the Woolworth building and was injured. She's going to describe to you now in her own words what happened. You were where were you in the
I was coming out of the subway on Broadway in Nassau.
What happened?
When I came out, I saw the towers where there was a plane sticking out of one side of the tower. And there were literally people throwing things through the windows and jumping from the windows. I guess they thought that was their only option. They were going to jump out or they were going to be blown to pieces. And I tried to get away from going away. I twisted my ankle. I had an asthma attack because I couldn't breathe. And all I could see was a big ball of smoke behind me. I never want to go through it again. It really gives me second thoughts about working in the city. My first job in Manhattan, and probably will be my last. It's not sitting well with me at all.
And what's your name, ma'am?
Linda.
Linda, what's your last name? Okay, now one thing the hospital desperately needs right now is blood. They've set up a makeshift blood donation center in the lobby of Bellevue Hospital, so if you can give blood, you're being asked to come down and do your part in helping out. Jackie, Marvin.
Okay, Glenn, thank you very much for that report. I'm joined now by Mary Murphy, who has been out in town. And what is the scene you've seen in the last couple of hours?
Well, I know as soon as this happened about 9 o'clock, I was called desperately by this woman, Sally DeLeo, in Staten Island. Her husband, Vito, survived the World Trade Center bombing in 1993. He was at Ground Zero and crawled out of the rubble. She called me to hear if I heard anything because she said if Vito had a way to get to a phone, he would get to a phone. So she was crying, and I tried to reach him on his beeper. It wasn't working, of course, because most of the telephones were out of service. And then we found out a couple of hours later that he was right near an exit when this happened. So Vito DeLeo did get out, an original survivor from the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. And of course, coming in from Queens, everything was shut down.
You had to come across, you walked across the bridge.
Yes, I walked across the 59th Street Bridge, much like Jackie did. I was on the number 7 train in Flushing, told us to get off the train. Then I walked a few blocks, we got a bus, we had to get off the bus, and then finally I hitchhiked. I've never done that in my life. Made it to Queens Plaza and over the bridge, and there were thousands of people flooding the bridge coming from Manhattan into Queens. And there were some people heading into Manhattan with me as well. You know, of course, that firemen and police officers were asked to come in. Any emergency personnel who were off duty were asked to come in and help out.
And as Mayor Giuliani said, it's just an incomprehensible nightmare that we thought we never would see, that never would happen. We're going to go to Sukanya Krishna now, who's been standing by for us in Midtown. Sukanya.
Right here on 2nd and 42nd, you can see that this area, they have actually brought in trucks over here, which stand before there was there was a bus that was blocking the way, but as you can see, they are heightening up security. You know, we've been sitting out here pretty much all day talking to a lot of people, and there's a sense that this isn't happening. A lot of people are walking by just trying to make sense of this, and it's really been unreal. A lot of people have been talking about the people that have died. There are a lot of emotions on the street, too. A lot of people who are angry. A man just walked by just now screaming for profanities, trying to make sense of what's happening. And really, I had no answers for him. All morning long, we've been talking to witnesses who made it out of that carnage that was Lower Manhattan. I've been listening to Melinda Murphy describe what was where the Twin Towers stood. Also, a lot of people are trying to get out of Manhattan, and though the crowds have thinned out some, we just want to update you on what is functioning. Speaking of subways, according to the mayor, the subways are all functioning in all 4 boroughs. In Manhattan, though, it's only the letter lines that are working uptown and downtown. Also, the bridges and tunnels at this point do remain closed. Pedestrians also are not able to walk across these bridges, as far as we're told. Marvin, I know it took you were saying about 3 hours to get in. We've been here all morning. We actually watched this unfold, and there's really a sense of numbness. I guess that's the only way to explain this numbness. Can I talk to you? You've been here, and what's going through your mind?
Just total chaos and upset. I'm so upset about what's going on. The whole city is just up in arms.
What have you been seeing as you've been walking
just
around?
People, everyone crying around me. I live up on 57th Street. The bridge is completely packed. People are hitchhiking, and everyone's just pitching in and helping each other. People are picking up people, pregnant ladies on the side of the road, taking them over the bridge just to get them home.
It's almost an unreal, surreal feeling that you're experiencing.
It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. It's like total shock. The whole city's in total shock.
I guess that's the best way to put it. The whole city is in total shock. You can see over here as well, people have been listening to radios. The payphone all morning long has been filled with people. You can see it's thinning out. People have been on cell phones trying to get in touch with loved ones, trying to talk to them, tell them that they're okay. So, you know, we're trying to get the information out there, and that's really the very latest here. As we stand here on the corner of the Israeli consulate and the UN, where things are pretty much status quo. Also, Marvin, I would like to point out to you that all morning long we have been seeing F-16s pass by here. Maybe you can give us some insight as to what that is all about. So I throw it back to you.
Well, thank you, Sukanya. Our understanding is that the city is under military surveillance, and the support is being brought in, as promised by President Bush, to the governor and the mayor. As they said a few moments ago, they have all the support from the president, and also I understand 2 warships are on their way to New York, including one of them, the aircraft carrier John F. Kennedy. You use the word numbness from so many people. Mary and I are sitting here. We remember so vividly the World Trade Center explosion in 1993, and there was that emptiness we felt inside immediately after that. And as horrendous as that was, and there were 6 people killed, we look at this today and we see those pictures of those 2 buildings coming down. Surreal is the word. It is sickening. It is, I mean,
it looks like a movie. It looks
right.
like
I said that before. It looks like a special effect, a digital effect in some motion picture coming out of Hollywood, but not real. And unfortunately, it is all too real. And we have no numbers on the casualties. Mayor Giuliani said a few moments ago, right now we got to focus on saving as many people as possible. But he said the number of casualties, quote, will be more than we can bear, ultimately, and including a number of firefighters and police officers who were trying to save people there.
We're going to another live shot now. Out on the field, Lolita Lopez, I believe, is near the 59th Street Bridge, where, as I mentioned before, thousands and thousands of people were trying to empty out of Manhattan and get home to the outer boroughs. Lolita.
Lolita, go ahead. Can you hear us, Lolita? Okay, I guess Lolita cannot hear us. Let's go to a piece of video which I shot this morning as I tried to get over here from New Jersey. The city virtually is closed. This is a shot in Weehawken, Tens of thousands of people. You can see the sight of the plume of smoke from the World Trade Center. They're arriving in Weehawken. They sent emergency services from New Jersey communities. They were going to set up a triage area at the ferry terminal, bring some of the injured across. The river was virtually closed except for the ferry going in one direction. There is a boat I managed to commandeer, and God bless you, Victor Becker, because he took me aboard and brought me over to Manhattan, where he owns the party boat, the Horizon. He was making that available to the thousands of people trying to leave town, and this was the scene in Lower Manhattan around 23rd Street. Take a look at the lineup of ambulances. They went down from that point all the way down to the World Trade Center area. The sight, absolutely unbelievable. Every time I saw that plume of smoke, I got sick to my stomach, as did everyone else.
I believe we can reach Lolita now. She's over by the 59th Street Bridge. We had a little audio trouble earlier. Lolita.
All right, Mary and Marvin, we're having the same problem as the rest of the city using our Nextels here to get in communication. Right now, we are at the 59th Street Bridge and 2nd Avenue. Take a look across my shoulder here. This is the only way many people can get back home to their houses and their homes in Queens. Public transportation people, MTA, are telling everyone to walk down the 59th Street Bridge, take that long route back home to Queens. That is one of the only ways it's going to be possible for them to get that way. Now, trucks and cars are also traveling this route, trying to get back that way. And we were earlier at the Midtown Tunnel, where people are getting across that way, but only cars that are loaded. Some cars are picking up passengers and people they don't even know in order to get the number requested to get across. Now, we did hear from the mayor earlier today, about 10 minutes ago. Subways are functioning in all 4 boroughs. All the letter lines are working out of Manhattan. But if you want to get uptown, you're going to have to take Metro North up there and then take some buses down. If you get to Grand Central Station, they will route you the correct way so that you can get both uptown and also into Jersey. Live at the 59th Street Bridge, I'm Lolita Lopez. Back to you guys in the studio.
Okay, Lolita, thank you for that report. We've been through this before, and we have those vivid images of Oklahoma City, the World Trade Center, and now this, the most heinous act ever, said the mayor.
Well, we had done a history piece a few years back of some of the other incidents that rocked New York. Nothing, of course, anywhere near what we're going through today, but February 26, 1993, I know Marvin and I were there when the World Trade Center was bombed by that Ryder rental truck that came out of Jersey City. There were Egyptian-born terrorists behind that attack. I think the vehicle was packed with about 1,500 to 2,000 pounds worth of explosives. It took the police about a week to find the terrorists. In this case,
6 people were killed in that one, and we had about 1,000 people who were injured, but nothing near like this one today.
And we had other incidents that happened since then involving potential terrorist plots, people caught in Brooklyn with potential explosives going on the subway. And I have a little piece that you may want to see that gives you a little bit of background on other incidents before today. February 26, 1993. It's the day foreign terror blasted New York into a new reality.
I never want to go through that again. I'll never go in that building. It was horrible, the feeling not getting out, not being able to get out. You felt smothered.
Within a week, the FBI had the undercarriage of the Ryder rental van that carried the bomb, and its first suspect in New Jersey, a Palestinian named Mohammed Salameh, and then another Palestinian, chemical engineer Nadel Ayad, whose voice was captured on a message left for the Daily News.
This is the Liberation Army. We conducted the explosion at the World Trade Center.
The FBI discovered this ripped photo of Ayad in a garbage can outside his New Jersey home, the accused terrorist posing with a grenade beneath a Palestinian flag. The feds also found him posing with Egyptian radical El Sayed Nosair at Attica State Prison in New York before the Trade Center bombing, but after Nosair had been convicted of gun charges in the fatal shooting of Rabbi Meir Kahane. Within months, the group would be linked to a much larger conspiracy. A blind Egyptian sheikh named Omar Abdel Rahman finally surrenders from a Brooklyn mosque after the FBI discovers a bomb factory at a Jamaica Queens warehouse. Surveillance tape showing a half-dozen men delivering steel drums to the site.
As we entered the bomb factory, the 5 subjects were actually mixing the witch's brew.
The sheikh was later convicted of plotting attacks on the UN and bridges and tunnels linking New York and New Jersey. This evidence tape shows ringleader Sadiq Ali doing a run-through in the Lincoln and Holland tunnels, even scoping out areas where security personnel are stationed. Within a year of the Sheikh's life sentence, 2 letter bombs arrived at the United Nations, not long after others had turned up at a federal prison housing the Sheikh.
All were postmarked from Alexandria, Egypt.
And on February 23, 1997, the city was once again shaken by a fatal shooting rampage, this one on the observation deck of the Empire State Building. In this case, 69-year-old Palestinian Ali Abu Kamal from Gaza City killed a Danish tourist and then himself, leaving behind a letter that railed against Americans and Zionists, stating a goal to murder as many as possible. Obvious from that piece that this has been a continuing problem for our city ever since 1993.
And still what they want to know is, how we were so vulnerable at the airports, and there had been threats of recent groups linked to Osama bin Laden.
Wilson reported credible reports of a plane passing very, very near the dome of the U.S. Capitol today. Whether or not it is that United Flight 93 from Newark to San Francisco is yet to be determined, but that is certainly a possibility. Somebody called from a cell phone who said he was a passenger on board that plane. He had locked himself in the restroom. He said it was not a hoax. They were being hijacked. But Flight 93 is no more. On any given day, the crash of that one aircraft with 45 people on board would dominate the news. But in a day like this,
after 9 o'clock this morning when 2 jet liners,
particularly in New York real estate, what do you think that we ought to do?
They, in effect, resulted in our eliminating a lot of our human intelligence capabilities. It's a dirty business. When you have human intelligence, you're doing business with the kinds of people that will commit these acts. Sometimes the first test of a human intelligence agent, the first test they send them out on is to go out and kill somebody. So it's pretty tough for America to get into that, and we got out of it. But it may be that we have to get into that kind of business.
Mr. Secretary, why don't you just name the legislator, because you're just going to cause more trouble for me to go to the file and look it up. Who held these hearings, and what's the point you're trying to make?
Well, they were the church committee hearings, and what I think we did as a consequence of those hearings was to...
We understand most hotels are pretty full around here. It's going to be a very, very long night, even on this side of the Hudson River. Live at Newark Airport, I'm Brian Thompson. Back to you.
Brian, thank you. And we should tell you also that if you're planning to travel anywhere, we've gotten word that the airports across this nation are going to be closed until at least noon tomorrow, perhaps beyond. So your travel plans are on hold.
They are indeed. It's pretty eerie to see airports that empty and the roadways this empty, is it not?
Very. Doug Kriegel, you live in Los Angeles. We assume that you're not going back anytime soon, certainly not as soon as you would have hoped.
Well, I was hoping to spend the week fishing and playing golf on the
Guess what, you're
North Fork
working.
of Long Island.
They're calling you from KNBC right now because you will be working. But thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in and telling us what you experienced trying to get back into the city when everybody else was trying to leave.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at, I'm sorry?
We
have another witness on the phone right now. Who?
It took off from Newark. It was headed to San Francisco. It abruptly made a turn. The fate of the passengers were not, immediately officially announced now, but state police are saying they don't believe there are any survivors. It crashed specifically 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh, just north of Somerset County Airport. We're also getting more quotes in. The man who called, saying he was calling from the bathroom of the plane, told the dispatchers that the plane was going down. He heard some sort of explosion and saw white smoke coming from the plane, and then they lost contact with him. Other people, other witnesses at the scene saying there's a crater gorged in the earth. The plane is pretty much disintegrated, nothing left but scorched trees. And again, this is a strip mine area. It is, a grassy area, not populated. Michael Maringer was out on a mountain bike with his wife. He said there was about 2 miles from the crash site, and he says that he heard the engine gun 2 different times and then heard a loud bang, and the windows of the houses rattled. We also are here.
Sorry, I don't have any cans.
in a very orderly fashion, and at that point in time, from that point until they got to the street level, everything seemed relatively clear until the falling debris was an issue getting outside of the World Trade Center.
Are you in Tower 1 or 2? Were you?
Number 1 at that time.
There were only about 18 minutes between the two crashes. That sounds like it was almost enough time to get a fair number of people who were in that building out.
Well, I would say it took us about 15 or so minutes to get from the 25th floor down to the ground level or street level, and then I would say it was probably about a minute or two from that time before we saw, or anyone that did see, the impact of the second plane crashing into the number two building.
Did you know right away when you felt the building shake that something dreadful had happened and you had to get out?
It was, the shudder was certainly pronounced enough that there was a lot of concern, people immediately scared, and then once we were in the stairwells is when some people said they saw falling debris and that it might have been from an aircraft. And not until that time, but once again, from the time you exited the stairwells and went down 25 stories, everyone was pretty orderly and more concerned about people that were struggling to get down those stairwells.
I'm wondering, the kinds of warning, we had one witness earlier who told us that they were kind of given the all clear and people started to go back up to their offices. You didn't get anything of that sort?
No, I had heard that actually from a phone conversation I had with a friend of mine's wife, because I know he worked in 2 World Trade Center, and she said that some people were given the all clear to go back into 2 World Trade Center, but I'd be shocked and dismayed if that was the case.
Do you know anything about your co-workers? Are they all pretty safe and sound from what you can tell?
Unfortunately, my colleagues and friends were on significantly higher floors from 102 through 105, and I have not had any correspondence with any of those friends or colleagues at this time yet.
With what company are you, sir, if we might ask?
Well, I formerly worked for a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, which occupied on 101, 102, 103, 104, 105.
When you got out onto the street, where did you go? How did you know what to do at that point?
Once again, police personnel escorted us out from the Liberty Street exit, and most people then, I would say, made a direct line over towards and behind the World Financial Center towards the Hudson River. And at that point, that's when we saw the crash of the second airplane into the building.
What was the reaction among the people you were with when you saw that second airplane hit?
You know, I was really kind of by myself at that point in time, and I think once again, just total shock is what really was, you know, a lot of people were obviously very concerned, very hysterical at that point in time, maybe realizing and having it finally sink in the severity of what was going on. But until that point in time, people didn't know if it was a fire. If, you know, people just didn't know until I think that second airplane hit.
And did you tell yourself then, as your thoughts cleared, that this was a deliberate act, that you were under attack?
Clearly, I think at that point in time, I saw for about 10 or 15 seconds the sound of the engines, and I actually saw the aircraft hit into the number 2 World Trade Center. That aircraft, unaffected, went right into that building and never tried to veer off course.
Were you anywhere near the towers when they began to collapse?
No, fortunately, I think at that point in time I was on the FDR Drive, almost to the Triborough Bridge, with a friend of mine who drove into Manhattan, and we had heard on the radio that the buildings were collapsed, and when we came over the Triborough Bridge at that point in time in his car, we looked off to the south to our right, and we saw what was left of the buildings, and at that point in time was just in total shock of you know, the severity of where we were, and fortunate that we were long gone.
Well, we thank you very much for sharing your experience with us, and we are awfully glad that you got out of that building safely. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Katie McGee is standing by right now at Shadow Traffic. Let's check in with Katie and see what the situation is around the area. Katie?
Chuck, I've got to tell you, this situation has literally been changing minute to minute since about 9 o'clock this morning. What we have for you are some of the latest updates. Now, if you take a look right now at our Panasonic Skycam, you get a nice shot here of the Cross Bronx heading into the GWB. For most of the day, trying to get outbound at the George Washington Bridge, everything was closed down. I'd say about half an hour, 40 minutes ago, they reopened the outbound upper level only of the George Washington Bridge. So the traffic you're seeing on the Cross Bronx right now, that's everybody that has been waiting all day long to get there. there. Now, you're still going to find inbound GW Bridge closed, inbound Lincoln and Holland tunnels, they are closed down as well. Now, just to get to the latest at some of the other bridges, up at the Upper East River, Throgs Neck, Whitestone, Triborough bridges open into Queens only. Further down the East River, the Queens Midtown Tunnel, the 59th Street Bridge, Queens-bound traffic only. Lower East River, Brooklyn Bridge and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel are closed in both directions. Williamsburg Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, those are going to be open. As you can see, this pedestrian traffic only heading into Brooklyn. And this has just been an amazing sight all afternoon as you just see everyone travel across the Manhattan Bridge heading back into the city this after a day where we have seen so much destruction. Some other bridges to update you on. Verrazano open into Staten Island only. Other Staten Island bridge crossings, Bayonne, Outer Bridge, Goethals, New Jersey bound only. Transit updates. These are really going to help you if you have been in the city all day and need to get home. Metro North is first. As of 3 o'clock, Metro North running a Saturday schedule on all outbound trains leaving Grand Central Station. Inbound service will be terminating in Yonkers on all 3 lines. If you need to take Long Island Railroad, limited service heading eastbound, or that would be outbound from Penn Station. Passengers being lined up outside Penn Station, allowed in small groups to enter, and then you'll be put onto the small number of trains they have running. As far as Long Island roadways, westbound LIE closed down Patchogue Holbrook Road, westbound Northern State closed at the Queens line, westbound Southern State still closed down at Hempstead Avenue. New Jersey Transit, this is where we've really had a rough time today. No bus service for you in or out of Port Authority. Obviously, with the bridges and tunnels closed coming in and out, that's causing the biggest backup. Now, trains, we do have some good news for you. Limited service outbound New Jersey Transit trains from Penn Station, New York to Penn Station in Newark. From there, you're going to find limited service on the Northeast Corridor, North Jersey coastline and Raritan Valley lines. PATH train service still suspended, and a couple of big road closures to let you know about in New Jersey. New Jersey Turnpike closed northbound from Interchange 11 up to the eastern-western spur split. The northbound western spur is open. Eastern spur, however, remains closed down. Other roadways in New Jersey, northbound 95 closed in the area of the GWB. Eastbound Newark Bay extension of the Turnpike is closed. Eastbound 4 closed in Englewood. Eastbound 46 closed in Fort Lee. Eastbound 3 closed at the 16W entrance to the Turnpike, which is right in front of Giant Stadium. Eastbound 80, you've got closures, express lanes in Saddlebrook, locals at Route 95, and northbound 19 closed at the Pulaski Skyway. Now, if you notice all of these New Jersey road closures, all of them are the roadways that take you to the Lincoln, Holland, and GWB. And, of course, no word on when any of these may be reopening. Subways have some limited service running in Manhattan as well as to the outer boroughs. However, no real service to mention for you south of Midtown. And again, this changing by the minute. I cannot stress this enough. Police asking, please stay home. Leave the roadways that are open and available to emergency personnel. Chuck, Jane?
All right, thank you very much, Katie.
We have Joe Avalar still in Lower Manhattan, where he has been throughout the day today. Joe?
We're live at the base of the Manhattan Bridge right now. We've been watching for hours people streaming off Manhattan Island. Thousands of them walking across the bridge, which is the only way they've been able to walk off this part of Manhattan, going home. And that's been their primary interest, is going home. And one of the things that's happened in the past 2 hours, as you can see over my shoulder here, the American Red Cross has set up water stands to give out water because people have been collapsing in the heat trying to get home again. That's been people's primary interest in getting home. Just a few seconds ago in this particular intersection, let's pan around here and show you at Canal Street, there was a car backfire. Everything stopped. It was a loud noise. People are that close to panic, and everything stopped as people wanted to figure out, police wanted to figure out exactly what that noise was. I've talked about the people trying to leave Manhattan by the thousands. We've also seen some things coming into Manhattan. Let's show you. Particularly over the past few hours, we've watched this. Fire trucks coming in from Brooklyn with firefighters on the top of the trucks, reinforcements for the fire department that's making the valiant effort downtown. They've also been coming in reinforcements for the police department. National Guardsmen are coming in as well. In fact, we've seen police from out of town come in, from the New Rochelle Police Department coming in to back up the NYPD. All of these people coming in to assist with the effort after the attack on the World Trade Center. Supplies for the fire department are coming in as well. They're coming in on the backs of flatbed trucks, along with more hundreds of firefighters and heavy equipment. Front-end loaders, steam shovels, things like that, all coming in over the Manhattan Bridge. That's been the only traffic coming in on the Manhattan Bridge as we watch. Let's come back live if we can right now, and you get a better sense of the people coming across. This, again, just a trickle of what we've been watching all day long. Hundreds of thousands of people trying to get out of Manhattan. And as we stand here and talk to you live, we can still see the plume of smoke where the World Trade Towers used to be. The plume of smoke over there. And that's what's happening here in the lower part of Manhattan, this part of Manhattan. Back to you.
Joe Avalar,
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joe. And sitting with us at the desk now is Gabe Pressman, who's come back from downtown. We had you on talking with several of the people who'd witnessed this a while ago. You saw a lot of chaos. You saw a lot of people who were upset, and
they were stunned. They were, you know, they didn't really fully grasp what had happened. It was at the corner of Leonard and West Broadway, and that's where the police set up like a demarcation line, and these folks were just gawking and looking at the building, at that pillar of fire and smoke, which is so gross, you know. And then I talked to some of them at a diner at that intersection, and they were one woman was very grateful that her sister was alive because she'd been late for work. She never got to work. And there was a young woman named Diana Torres. I wrote the name down on my notebook. She is a manager at American Express on Vesey Street off West Street, right next to the Trade Center. And she had an appointment uptown, and that's why she wasn't there. And she said when she saw it all happen, she was on her way back to work. And she was so overwhelmed that she fell on her knees and started to pray.
I'd be willing to bet there was a lot of that going on today.
We saw some of that in our own building here, Gabe. While you, incidentally, were missing for a brief time, we were worried about you.
Yeah, well, I thought once when the Pope was here, I took the subway from spot to spot and got there ahead of him, figuring I wouldn't use a car. I tried to use the subway, and we got stranded on 23rd Street, and finally they let us out, and I walked.
How long were you down in the subway?
About 3/4 of an hour. And people were quite pleasant and not too concerned about being stuck in the subway.
Did they have any idea what had gone? Well, you.
Oh yes, they absolutely knew. Everybody on the subway knew that there had been something happening. That a plane had crashed in. I think it was one plane, and there was some young woman who had a transistor radio that was working underground, the subway, just north of 23rd Street. I don't know how she got reception. Oh, it was an FM radio station.
For as fractious as cities as can be, under ordinary circumstances, the minute something dreadful happens or there's a major problem, a blizzard, a blackout, generally you find, or an act of terror, that people suddenly pull together and it transforms the city. The goodness comes out in people more than the evil, I think.
It's amazing. I saw that during the Scud War. Jim Rosenfield was saying the same thing. He was there in Israel, and the feeling of solidarity that comes out of something like this. That was in 1991. On the other hand, I talked to one of our employees, one of NBC's employees in Israel yesterday, a wonderful woman who is a bedrock of strength normally. She was just looking forward to getting out of Israel for 2 weeks because she couldn't stand the oppression of knowing that there were suicide bombers around walking in the street.
And if she has now heard what's happened in New York City today.
Oh, she's heard by now. But
she most certainly will not want to come here
but
either.
we never dreamed, Nara DeLeon, my producer, and I, talking to her, that we were going to be faced with something far, more lethal the next day here.
And this has taken suicide bombing to a whole new level. This is a new chapter in terrorism that is in many ways much more frightening. This isn't a car bomb or a truck bomb that is driven slowly up to some specific target.
Yeah.
This could happen anytime, anywhere.
That's right. There was a young man, the manager of that diner down on West Broadway, Ted Karunas, his name is, and he was so angry, he said, and he couldn't be more than 35 years old, he said, if I could enlist, if I could fight, I'd go out and fight now. That was his attitude.
You know, I've heard a lot of that today. People who have called us, people that I've spoken to who've met other people on the streets downtown have said they're angry. They are furious that this has happened in this city. You know, at first they're stunned, then they're shocked, then they're terrorized, and finally they're just plain angry.
One of the advantages of being so old is that I remember it. I was 15 years? No, I was 41. I was 17 years old. Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941. And
if you hear something in the background here, we have the fire marshal of our building giving us some instructions. Let's just listen for a second here.
Weekend service, please use the AS Bank elevator.
Well, we're being told which elevator bank we can use now, what they're shutting down and what they can. Nothing of any great import. But
That's exactly right. But it is
take us back to Pearl Harbor again, Gabe.
Okay, so we're sitting around the family table having dinner at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, as I recall, or 2:30, in the Bronx. And my best friend calls, Stanley, and he says, you listen to the radio, boy? I said, no. Well, listen to the radio. There's a war on. Get a uniform. And ultimately, I went into the Navy. He went into the Air Force. He was in Britain. I was in the South Pacific. And I remember the feeling. It was a good war. Everybody wanted to get in.
It was very cut and dried, black and white.
And I was, when I was in college that year, I guess I entered college in 40, and this was 41. I was a sophomore, and everybody wanted to join up. The seniors went into programs to become officers. Important that you become an officer. And I remember gawking at these guys when they came back in their uniforms. It was an incredible time.
Probably with awe and admiration, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But the point that's been made frequently today is the fact that we, A, don't know who our enemy is right now. We don't know who's attacking us, and B, it's not as if it's a country that we will ultimately be able to go attack.
Exactly. How do you focus on it?
Well, we don't know that. With absolute certainty, we don't know that there isn't a state-sponsored element here.
That's true.
There's a long list of suspects, I would think. At the top of them, we've had experts on our air saying Osama bin Laden is one because he's threatened this sort of thing recently. But we also have other enemies in the Middle East and elsewhere around the world who might be inclined to do it. Gaddafi, who knows?
Right. Didn't one of the Palestinian organizations affiliated with Arafat claim credit?
At this point, I can't answer that, but we have to go downtown to Rob Morrison because apparently there's danger that another building may I'm sorry, we don't have Rob, but we've just been given some information. Yes, we are going down to Rob.
Chambers Street here, about 6 or 7 blocks away from where the World Trade Centers were standing. If you look past me, and Ralph Patterson is panning up there right now to that modern brown building, you can see the smoke still pouring out of that building. Now, what some firefighters here on the scene have told me is this, that building sustained heavy damage when the second collapse happened. That's when tower number 1 collapsed. That building right there, I'm still not sure which building it is, sustained some pretty heavy damage. The fires are burning, number 1, and number 2, there are no firefighters in that building. According to the firefighters here that I spoke to, they have no firefighters in that building right now, and number 3, that building also is in danger of collapsing. So I have no IFB, I can't speak back to you. I just wanted to pass that information along. That comes from some firefighters who are on the scene and have been on the scene all morning. Rob Morrison, Lower Manhattan, let's send it back to you.
Perhaps if we can take a wider view, not this one, but we've got another angle that might show us that building. Because does it not look to you like there's a difference in the smoke from when we last
see some
looked?
white smoke, and I don't know where the firefighters, if they are working anywhere in the area at this point trying to douse the flames. As our viewers well know, that when you see the white smoke, it's an indication there's water getting on the fire. So you see a little bit of white smoke to the right there, and big black billowing smoke, which is a fire burning unchecked. That, I assume, is the one that Rob is talking about. And one can imagine, with the size of the World Trade Center, 110 stories each, they actually are a village unto themselves, just the Twin Towers. There are many towns in this country that can't hold the number of people the Twin Towers hold. When that collapsed, there was an enormous amount of inertia heading down, a lot of material collapsing and flying in all directions. I'm sure that many of the buildings around there sustained significant damage, and the fire has obviously spread to other structures as well. So we won't, it may be days before we get a full picture of the extent of the damage, this one act of terrorism.
That analogy with Pearl Harbor, this was a sneak attack. This was a day that will live in infamy too.
Yes, it is.
Yes, but with that sneak attack, it wasn't so sneaky later in that same day when Japan declared war. We haven't had anybody declare war. We have had no information with anyone claiming responsibility up to this point, certainly to any of the knowledge that we have here on this news set.
And as I mentioned earlier, certainly one of the clues that's buried in the rubble in the southern tip of Manhattan lies in the black boxes that were on those airliners that will likely have survived all of this carnage and chaos. And the cockpit voice recorders may, if they were functioning, if they hadn't been deliberately disabled by a particularly ingenious terrorist, may have clues. Certainly we'll have the last half an hour, 45 minutes of discussion in the cockpit. There may have been a message that at the moment of impact or right just before, somebody doing this deliberately might have uttered, which will give us some hint in the not-too-distant future about the source of this terror.
But this apparently is a new dimension of suicide bombing, where somebody is a suicide bomber and either pilots or tells the pilot what to do and blows himself up with the passengers.
Some rudimentary knowledge of aviation would be necessary to, but you know, to take the plane and grab the controls and aim it at something wouldn't require somebody to have a pilot's license. Just some knowledge once the plane's airborne.
But both of those planes, I believe, became from Boston. So they would have had to have headed in a certain direction with some kind of navigational skills.
That's
that
true.
would be, would there be enough information in the cockpit itself to be able to, for them to set a kind of flight plan?
Well, certainly there is, the planes independently navigate, and you can, with any number of devices in the cockpit, navigate anywhere you want to go. You aren't dependent at all on air traffic control to go anywhere you want. You can,
clearly they weren't clearing this flight with
How long would it
anybody.
take to get from Boston to New York if you just were aiming for the World Trade Center?
Well, it's probably, what is a 35-minute flight, actual flying time? Boston, New York? It's not long. And, but on a day like today, this was an unusually clear day. There was unlimited visibility. You could fly the coastline if you wanted to. It wouldn't have taken a genius to do it, but these guys couldn't have counted on good weather either, so.
Right. But isn't it entirely feasible as well that they could have done that, because there were no reports of erratic planes in wrong positions, etc., preceding any of this? Suddenly that plane showed up, and that was it.
No, there are a lot of questions, the answers to which will be most intriguing when we get them. And I'm confident that we'll get most of the answers. I think that the investigating authorities are going to work as hard as they've ever worked, or maybe harder in their lives, to unravel this, get to the bottom of it, find out what can be found out. Certainly, these aircraft were followed on radar. There is a recorded track that will show their flight path. And the flight data recorders, if they're recovered intact, would also give a lot of information about the actual route of the plane over the last half-hour flight. So I think that there's an awful lot of information that can be gleaned by trained investigators right on the site here that will help immensely. Back to the human aspect now. Sitting next to me is my brother Jeff Scarborough, who was a cameraman here, who shot one of the definitive pieces of footage that we've seen. You were on the scene, Jeffrey. And I want to roll the tape of the collapse. You were there with your camera rolling, and I want you to tell me what it was like to be looking through your viewfinder and seeing that building come down. So let's roll the tape now. Okay. Again, there it is. This is your tape.
Yes, they moved us back to this point. Okay, you're watching the collapse, and it's an unreal sight. I was just thinking of, this is probably worse than in Pearl Harbor, just watching the horrible loss of life. Then you could see the plume coming in there. Everybody's running there, telling us all to get back. So I just kept the camera rolling here as I'm just trying to get at a safer distance. Because where the car was parked, everything was totally covered with soot at this point.
I can see the.
And you'll see when I settle down, I tucked around the building. I'm settling down to try to stay out of the way of the plume, to try to get it some. Okay, here we go. Now, what really made me move after this, you're going to hear what I believe was gunshots, but I have no proof of this because as soon as I heard it, I left. Listen closely. That sounded like gunshots to me. That's why you see that I'm getting out of there as quick as I can. So I don't know what transpired after that. I just tried to get to a safe distance, and that was literally maybe 30 feet away from me. So it's off mic, so it sounds like it's far away than it is, but it's really it's right where I was.
So on top of everything else, you suddenly were concerned that somebody was shooting, and on top of
I don't
having
know
the
who or
building
what.
collapse in front of you.
I believe it was the cops. I turned around and looked. I saw all cops panicking and stuff, and they could have just reacted to perhaps just seeing the collapse, and I don't know, but you could hear some profanity on the tape. You hear somebody yelling right before that, so I don't know. I don't know if they it's strictly speculative at this point, but I do know. To me, it was gunshots. I just stick around to see where it was coming from.
And I don't blame you.
How did you get down?
I spent the rest of the morning. Well, we were all on our own then, because when they moved us out so quick, I was going live with Walter Perez when the first one went down. In fact, we were doing it in the middle of the live shot. You see it go down, and you'll hear me on the tape. I'm saying, Walter, move, because I'm seeing the whole thing go down. And that was live. And right after that, it was a mass evacuation, and the cops were all, for our own safety to get out of there.
Your voice sounds a little bit thin. Did you breathe a lot of the?
I did, and I'm exhausted. I was on foot for hours. So
lugging the camera and the video and all of that.
And the tripod. I finally ended up dumping the tripod at a network truck. I linked up with the network crew for a while, but every time you would settle with the truck, they would move us back farther north for our own safety, and too many people and stuff, so you're lugging the equipment, you're on foot. So finally, a network crew, we hiked back to where they had originally parked, which was north of Canal, which is, and I finally hitched a ride back to the building from there, because it's been...
There's your footage again.
Yeah.
The FBI is about to hold a news conference, Jeff, and we want to go there right now. Here, let's go to Washington.
In response to this morning's attacks on our country, as you heard from President Bush a short time ago, the federal government is acting to help local communities with search and rescue and emergency management operations, to take all appropriate precautions to protect our citizens, and to identify those responsible for these despicable attacks on the American people. While some federal buildings have been evacuated for security reasons and to protect our workers, your federal government continues to function effectively. We have a federal emergency response plan, and at President Bush's direction, we are implementing it. We began to implement it immediately after the first attack in New York this morning. We contacted American forces and embassies throughout the world and placed them on high alert. The United States Secret Service immediately secured the President, the Vice President, and the Speaker of the House, and they are all safe. They have also secured members of the National Security Team, the President's Cabinet, and senior staff. As you know, President Bush was in Sarasota, Florida when the first attack occurred this morning. Air Force One has now landed at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska, and the President is in a secure location. He is in continuous communication with the Vice President and key members of his cabinet and national security team. Vice President Cheney and our National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Rice, are in a secure facility at the White House. I have just come from there. The Secretary of Transportation and other members of our White House senior staff are gathered at a command center there, and we are coordinating with other branches of our federal government. The Secretary of Defense remains at the Pentagon, and the Secretary of State is en route back to Washington from his trip to South America. President Bush is conducting a meeting of the National Security Council as we speak. They are meeting President Bush from his location and other members from different locations in Washington and other locations. As many of you have been reporting, the Federal Aviation Administration ordered all airports closed, and all planes which were in the air were directed to land at the nearest airport. International flights were diverted to alternate locations outside of the United States. Transportation Secretary Mineta has directed the Federal Aviation Administration to suspend operations until at least noon tomorrow. So no airline flights will operate until at least then, and until the FAA announces that operations will be resumed. Secretary Mineta has also issued orders controlling the movement of all vessels in United States navigable waters. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has activated 8 urban search and rescue task forces in New York, and 4 of these highly trained teams are at work here in Washington at the Pentagon. Every federal agency has implemented continuity of operations plans to make sure the government continues to function effectively. While the markets closed today because of the situation in Manhattan, the United States financial system has continued to operate. Banks have been open all day. The Federal Reserve has operated regularly and continuously. The Department of Health and Human Services has mobilized medical personnel and supplies to provide help to local authorities who are working so diligently to respond and try to help the victims of these terrible attacks. President Bush has committed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to identify and bring to swift justice those responsible for these despicable attacks. The Department of Justice is setting up a hotline for families who fear that their relatives may have been victims of one of these attacks, and we will be announcing that telephone number shortly. Our fellow citizens and our freedom came under attack today, and no one should doubt America's resolve. President Bush and all our country's leaders thank the many Americans who are helping with rescue and relief efforts. We ask our fellow Americans for your prayers for the victims, for their families, for the rescue workers, and for our country. Thank you all very much, and we will continue to update you as information is available and confirmed.
When will the president return to the White House?
Will he go back to Washington here? Will he address the nation? If the Vice President can stay in Washington, why can't the President be here?
We just heard Presidential Advisor Karen Hughes saying that President Bush, at this very moment, is conducting a meeting of the National Security Council, and she assured us that the U.S. financial system continues to operate, even though the financial markets are closed today because of this disaster. And, of course, repeated the vow that we've heard the President and others say that this country will prosecute those vigorously who did this.
And obviously they plan to keep us updated as this day goes on into tomorrow and the day after. Let's now go over to Jim Rosenfeld, who is with Asa Aarons, who has some other information that some of you might find very valuable. Jim?
Thanks so much, Jane. Asa's with me, as you mentioned, because we've really suspended our regular operations on our website. This is a time when people are anxious to get information. They're desperate to get information. And fortunately, through all of this, we've really found that the Internet has been up and operating and been working just fine. So, Asa, fill us in on what's on our website.
Email has been a little bit slow, but the Internet itself has been running, and we have suspended the normal features that we put on in favor of a website really just loaded with information. So if you log on to our website at WNBC.com, you will find dozens of telephone numbers, medical facilities where the injured are being cared for, and we will also stay on top of any schedule changes, power outages. We will also have a page where you will find information about schools. Now, obviously, New York City schools are closed today, but you may not know that in the interest of safety, some of the students have been moved. For example, PS 234 students can be found at PS 41. So we have an entire list of those moves, and if any of you have had difficulty calling the city, you may know by now that cellular service has been shut down, so it's been difficult there. And if you've been emailing in, there have been some delays in the email, so if you haven't received a response yet, don't worry too much, because email is kind of delayed all over. The one thing we do have up and running that is really excellent with this site, WNBC.com, is an actual bulletin board, and I've already seen some of the messages on it. Mary Jones, I'm all right. Peter Jones, thank goodness. And you can actually log on to our site right now, look over some of those messages, and maybe even post one of your own.
Fantastic.
So that's what we have on there, and we will continue this until we all get through this emergency.
For the foreseeable future, you mentioned some school changes, and earlier I had taken down some information which we, in the rush of things, didn't get a chance to pass along. Yonkers Public Schools, which by now are obviously finished for the day, but we did want to pass along that all the after-school programs in Yonkers had been called off, suspended because of this tragedy. So one more school item. And as Asa said, if you go to our website, it's really now become a clearinghouse for an exchange of information, places you can go to find the latest information on public service, on hospitals, on loved ones, as you said, who might then be posting messages on those boards if they can't get through on the telephone, which we know today has been difficult. Thanks, Asa. Jane, Chuck?
Thank you guys very much. On the telephone now is my co-anchor from the morning news program today in New York, who was trying to get home today from Paris. Maurice, I guess you could, were you diverted? Did you actually get on an airplane, or what happened?
Jane, we were on a plane halfway over the Atlantic between Paris and New York when the pilot came on and said, we're turning back to go to Paris, and it almost sounded like he was kidding, but then he was dead serious. And, it took a good hour before they could get the actual information to tell us what happened, but we turned around because obviously all the airports are closed, and I'm sitting here with my new wife in the airport in Paris, waiting the next move. We're hearing that the airports in New York are going to be open tomorrow, maybe. We don't even know. So here we are.
The only word that we've been given is that the FAA is probably not going to let anything fly until at least noon tomorrow. But again, that may change. It's an ever-changing situation. So what kind of information were they able to give you on the telephone?
I mean, very little.
On the airplane, I mean.
Very little. It was very limited. I mean, we're only learning now exactly what happened. It was just that there was some hijackings and there was terrorism and the World Trade Center had been hit, and they couldn't give us more than that. But, I mean, imagine 3.5 hours flying back to Paris when you thought you were going to New York and wondering what on earth possibly happened back home.
Well, I must tell you, Maurice, it's been pretty stunning to all of us here. We've been, covering it since 10 minutes before 9 this morning, which is when it actually started. So get home safely, but, don't worry about getting here until you can get here safely, okay?
You bet. We'll see you then, Jane.
All right.
Are you, before you go away, Maurice, are you able to see any of this on